must begin.
Hello, folks. We're going to get started here in about 1 minute. Oh my goodness. CC4E, thank you so much for gifting a tier 1 sub. That's very kind of you. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Thank you so much. I thought that might be you, Dr. Chuck. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and your material has been really wonderful for us to work through together here on stream. So yes, please give CC4E a follow. I'll give them a shout out here just real quick as soon as the countdown is over. Of course, no worries. Hello. I hope everybody is having a great weekend so far, and it's even better now that we've got the creator of Python for Everyone here with us today, Dr. Chuck. Thank you so much for being here. Please do give them a follow. Give them a quick shout out, which should link to their channel. Shout out CC4E. There we go. Yeah, please give them a follow. Dr. Chuck has created several courses, including Python for Everyone, with some really excellent, pedagogical sort of format for the courses, which really aids to learning and retention. So once again, give Dr. Chuck a follow, and thank you for being here today and popping in to say hi. I'm glad you like what I'm doing. I like what you're doing. So yeah, a really wonderful material. Hey, Chaotic Rage, good to see ya. How you doing? But yeah, we are on part 9 of this series, regular expressions. The format we're going to follow today is that we are going to start out with a quiz like we usually do, and we're going to take our quiz on the previous section, so tuples, because we covered tuples last week, and the best way to gauge whether or not you've actually learned something is to essentially quiz yourself on it. So wait a period of time and then quiz yourself on it and see how much you've retained. So before we get into the absolute blast that is going to be regular expressions, we will start out with a quiz on tuples on what we covered last week. And then if we once we're able to 100% the quiz, then we can move on to the new material. And if we need to go back and review anything, then we absolutely will. And if we don't get all the questions right, there's no harm in that, right? It just shows that there's something else we need to review. So there should be no stigma around these quizzes, around getting the wrong answer, around maybe guessing the wrong answer. That's perfectly fine. We take the quiz, we review the material if we need to, and then we move on to the good stuff. I'm really excited about today's lesson on Regex. It should be really fun. I know as a senior developer, I do use Regex, but I don't really know how it works. It's one of those things where I use it fairly infrequently, and so I don't feel the need to, like, I haven't felt the need to actually learn how it works. I just more, look up a regex generator and then have it generate the regex for me. But I am curious to learn more about how it works, and sort of the logic behind it, so that if I see regex, I can just tell what it's doing without, having to plug it into a generator and have it tell me, because, it's always better if you can recognize that yourself. Alrighty. We're going to give folks a few more minutes to get in here. Udkar says, I use LLMs instead of regex. Hey, I use LLMs too. I use Copilot. I use ChatGPT. Those things are wonderful tools, but as we've kind of talked about here before on stream, they really can't replace human knowledge. They can augment human knowledge. They can certainly help you. They can, help you code more quickly. They can help you code more efficiently. They can help you sort of rubber duck a problem, right? Yeah, exactly. And Dr. Chuck says, I also use LLMs to write my regexes. They're great to ask, what does this regex do? Yes, and I do that as well. Absolutely. Just to help say, like, okay, do I understand this? Is this right? Also to help me troubleshoot. ChatGPT especially is very good at that, because you can have kind of an ongoing context, and ChatGPT can know, kind of your skill level and what you're going for. So GPT is great for that. It for troubleshooting and for helping you kind of suss out what a problem actually is. Also too, we have a few folks that just came in here. So CC4E is actually Dr. Chuck, the person that made the course we're taking. So, if you're enjoying the course so far, please go ahead and give them a follow, because Dr. Chuck has really made a brilliant free product here. I think that's the main thing to emphasize too, is that, like we always say here on stream, is that the only thing that learning should cost you is your time, because your time is worth something. Your time is valuable. And I think that's something that modern society often tries to kind of crush out of us, is the fact that our time is actually valuable, that our time spent on something has value intrinsically, that we don't have to put a dollar value on top of that. And so that's why, 100 devs is so valuable. And that's why, these free courses like this are so valuable as well, because it reminds us that our time is worth something, that we are worthy in ourselves without having to spend money on top of that. Hey, Space Girl, or Space G World. Oh, yes, I made it. Yeah, great to have you here. Yeah, time is the most valuable resource. Absolutely. Hey, Thim, good to see you as well. Alrighty, folks. That's why companies squeeze hours out of us employees. Yeah. It can be easy to feel fairly dehumanized and, beat down by modern society, squeezing every ounce of productivity out of us at every hour of the day. But, just spending time to learn something is worthwhile as well. And so, again, that's why free courses like Free Code Camp, like Python for Everyone, like 100 Devs are such a valuable resource, because, if you can't afford to pay money, then you should still be able to learn. Yeah. All right. As I mentioned before, we're going to start out with a quiz. And we're going to start out with our quiz on tuples. We covered tuples last time, and we should make sure that, see what information we've retained and what information we might need to go over again. Now, last week when we covered tuples, I actually wasn't familiar with tuples prior to this lesson, so I'm really curious to see how much I remember. A lot of the previous stuff we've covered has had similar concepts in other languages. So things like, arrays being analogous to lists, or objects being analogous to dictionaries. A lot of those concepts I was already familiar with from other languages. Tuples, not so much. So let's see what might have dropped out of my brain. Space says, I think I missed tuples last week. Let me grab my notebook. Hey, no worries. If you weren't around for last week's lesson, that's perfectly fine. We're going to work through the questions together, and it's perfectly fine to make your best guess, right? To use information you already know, and just make your best guess, and when we'll work through the answers together. And if we miss a question, that's okay too. Space G says, oh wait, can I watch it on your channel? Yes, you can. It's still here on Twitch. So if you go to the videos tab on my channel, you'll see the recording from last week. So you can watch it at any point. However, to join, you don't have to have already watched it to join us today. We're just going to start with the quiz, and then we're going to move on to our new material on regular expressions. Chaotic says, caught up on tuples this morning. It was very interesting. Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting to learn a new concept. All right, let's get into the quiz. Okay, so what is the difference between a Python tuple and a Python list? A, tuples can be expanded after they are created and lists cannot. B, lists are mutable and tuples are not mutable. C, lists are indexed by integers and tuples are indexed by strings. Or D, lists maintain the order of the items and tuples do not maintain the order. What do we think? Any guesses, chat? RDT says maybe B. We've got folks saying B. Silly Utkar, they're saying B. And if you don't agree with the consensus, it's okay to throw your hat in the ring as well. If you have a different answer, that's okay. You don't have to agree, with everyone. We'll work through the answers together. Space G. Okay, so it looks like the consensus is B. And yeah, I would agree with that, I think. So in the discussion about tuples, one of the things that was kind of stressed is that they are similar to lists in a lot of ways. It's essentially kind of it's a list of multiple values, right? The formatting is a little bit different. We can put parentheses around a tuple list versus a list with the curly braces. But one of the main differences is that lists are mutable, right? We can add things to them. We can rearrange the elements, we can slice them, we can dice them, we can do all these sorts of things to them. Whereas tuples are a little bit different in that they are not mutable. Or what do we call that when something is not mutable? What's the word for that? Quick vocab test. What's the opposite of mutable? Yeah, immutable, right? What's another data type that's immutable? Something we've already covered. What's another data type in Python that's immutable? Yeah, strings, right? Strings are immutable, meaning essentially that once it's created, we can't change that existing thing, right? It's so, if we have a string, we can create a modified version of that string, but it's going to be a new object. So same with tuples, not mutable. Alrighty. Question 2, which of the following methods are available for both Python lists and Python tuples? We've got append, pop, sort, index, and reverse. This one's a bit tricky, I think. I've got some, I think we can narrow it down a little bit. Oh, I did say curly braces for list earlier. I apologize. Yeah, lists are brackets. Sorry, dictionaries are the curly braces. Yeah, my bad. I said that incorrectly. Yeah. Yes. That's why we do these, right? Because it makes you make sure you've got all the facts right in your head. Yes, it is it is tricky. Okay, if the creator of the course, who's in chat right now, says that this question is tricky, then I feel better. Yeah. So but okay, so let's walk through each of these and think about why or why not one of them might be applicable to both. So given the fact that lists are mutable and tuples are not, I think we can probably rule out anything that's trying to mutate the original object, right? So anything that's going to try to mutate the original object isn't going to work on a tuple. So, and since these are methods, right, we are calling them on the original. So append, that's trying to add something, right? So probably not. Same with pop, which is trying to pop something off of it. So probably not. Same with sort, that's trying to, rearrange the elements in the original. So probably not. Then, we got D. So number 4 here, or D, whatever you want to call it, index. This could be it. This one is not necessarily trying to, do anything to the original. Reverse seems like it's trying to, reverse the elements in the tuple. So probably not. But let's confirm that before we choose our answer. So I think that this is likely the answer, sort of by process of elimination. Yeah, Leah. Oh, hey, Leah. Welcome. Leah is a fellow Stream Team member with 100 devs. So thank you for being here, Leah. Hi. Hello to you, too. Yeah, so I'm thinking it's probably index. But let's just pop back real quick and let's just look. So I'm going to duplicate this tab. And we'll say done for now. I'm thinking that we just scroll through here. So now we can use sort, right? But that's a function. So is that going to be, yeah. Let's see, t.sort reverse true. Let's see. If you check dir list and dir tuple. Oh, okay. So the function on the type, we'll find that index is the answer. Okay. Utkar's pretty good at Python, so they've got a bit more of an advanced, they're coming in with a bit more of an advanced knowledge. Yeah. I'm really thinking it's index. Actually, if I just do a control F here. Well, they're both indexed by integers, so yeah, it's not going to be sort. Yeah. No, I didn't think it would. All right, yeah, I'm going to go with index because they both are indexed by integers. So I could, run that directory function on both of them and see. But I'm going to go with my heart here, and we'll say index. Of course, good to have you here, Dr. Chuck. Thank you once again. I'm glad you like my teaching because I really like your course. So thanks once again for being here. Great to have you. Have a great rest of your weekend. Alrighty, let's go into question 3. What will end up in the variable y after this code is executed? Oh, yeah, and if you're interested in seeing more of my content, Dr. Chuck, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can do ! YouTube if you want a link. I can do it for you here just before you leave. You probably already left, but I'll do that. That's my YouTube channel. I've got about 2 years of archived content. A lot of it's on web development, but if you're interested, you can check that out. Okay, so what will end up in the variable y after this code is executed? So we've got x and y in a tuple on the left, and then we've got 3 and 4 in a tuple on the right. So remember that we don't always have to fence off our tuples with, the parentheses, right? We don't have to do that. You can, because it makes them a little easier to identify, especially if you're doing nested tuples. But we don't have to fence them off with parentheses. So these are tuples. So what will we end up with after this code is executed? If you're familiar with JavaScript, this might help you out. So will we end up with a 2-item tuple, a dictionary with the key 3 mapped to the value 4, 3, a 2-item list, or 4? Hey, Maiva, welcome. So what do we think? Are we going to end up with a 2-item tuple, a dictionary, number 3, a 2-item list, or the number 4? And it's what's going to be in the variable y? So it's just asking about the variable y here. And we can map this out if there's some question. There's no harm in doing that. Okay, so Silly says it will unpack with y being 4. Utkar says y has 4. Anybody have any dissenting views here? And that's fine. Let's just do this real quick. I think that's correct, but I am going to just demonstrate this really quickly because this is a more advanced concept. It is a concept that exists in JavaScript. Oh, I need to get into Python first. Hang on. All right. X comma Y equals 3 comma 4. There we go. All right. And then let's see what Y is. Yeah. So we can see here that Y is 4. Now in JavaScript, what do we call this? What do we call this concept? When we're taking, in JavaScript, we would take two objects on either side of an equal sign. Maybe one of them is a list of variables, the other one is a list of values. And we would kind of do the assignment that way. So does anybody know what that's called in JavaScript? Yeah, it's destructuring, right? And this is essentially the same thing. We're just doing it with tuples here. So what's happening is we're saying, all right, we've got this value y, and we've got this value x and this value y, and it's going to map the first object in this tuple to the first value here, the first variable in this or the second variable in this tuple to the second value here. So it's just going to go in order and map them together, assuming you have the same number of values on either side of the equal sign. It's going to be able to map those together. And what you end up with is this sort of multi-assignment, right? You're assigning multiple things at the same time, which could be very useful. Imagine that you are, I think the most common way that I see this done in JavaScript is, let's say that you are getting a form submission from the front end. And all that information is going to be coming to you or coming to your back end as one big bundle, right? You're going to have a bunch of stuff all bundled together in one object or one dictionary. And then what you want to do on your back end is you want to unpack that and sort of assign each thing in that bundle to its own variable. And so rather than having to do that individually, you can just have a list of variables that's the same length as your bundle that's coming from your front end. So same amount of values, and you can just do that assignment all at once. So pretty nifty. I'm glad it's something you can do in Python as well. All right, so we're going to end up with 4, I think, as our answer. All right, next question. In the following Python code, what will end up in the variable y? So here we have a dictionary, and it's got the values Chuck 1, Fred 42, and Jan 100. And then we have another assignment here where we're saying y equals x dot items. So when we call items, this items method on our dictionary, are we going to end up with a list of integers, a tuple with 3 integers, a list of tuples, or a list of strings? What will we end up with when we call items, the items method? Okay, so Chaotic says C. Utkar says key value pairs. So what is it going to give us? So we've got folks saying C here. Any other guesses? I think this will be another good one to just do. Sometimes these methods can be hard to remember unless you actually, practice them. So we'll go ahead and do that. We've got folks saying C. We've got Camo saying maybe maybe one of these two here, something with integers, potentially. Let's just see what we get. We'll call this here. And then we'll see what is in Y. So got my dictionary here, got my items call, list of integers, hopefully, sure. Let's see what we get. And then we're going to see what's in Y. Yeah. Okay, so what we get here is essentially a list of tuples. So we end up, it's telling us essentially, all right, we have this dictionary, and what are the items in the dictionary? Well, it's a list, and it's got tuples in it. Hey, Action, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. So we're just doing a quick review quiz before we get into regular expressions. So if you just popped in for regular expressions, we're going to get there in just a minute. We're just doing a quick review of the stuff we did last week, because that is how you learn, is you practice what you did before. You don't just move on, because your brain's never going to remember it otherwise, right? But yeah, so we end up with a list of tuples. Now, why? Oh, thank you, Maiva. Yeah, active recall is so important, right? So just kind of pausing here really quickly. Why do we think that it does this? Why do we think it chooses tuples? Why do we think it chooses tuples specifically to give us to kind of spit out these items that are in the dictionary? Why do you think it uses tuples? Because there's a reason why there's a reason why this happens, why it does it this way. So why do we think that might be? Given what we know about what tuples are and the properties that they have. Yeah, exactly. Just in general, I would think it's, well, because going back to the why here, right? In a dictionary, those key value pairs, the key is meant to be a unique identifier for that value, right? So if you're spitting out that list of items that are in your dictionary, yeah, as Maiva says, you don't want it to change. You want that to stay static. And we know that, tuples in themselves are immutable. So this is basically saying, all right, whatever we get out of this dictionary, it's going to be cemented. This relationship between that key and value, they're going to stay together. They're going to stay cemented. They're not going to change. You aren't going to be able to change them. They're going to be immutable and they're going to be stuck together because that's important, right? We want to make sure that those key value pairs stay together. So I think that, that's kind of important to say, okay, they didn't just pick this, right, for no reason. It was chosen because of the unique properties that that tuples have. They're immutable. And in the case of a dictionary with key value pairs, they better darn be immutable. We don't want to change those relationships. Maiva says, thank you for always teaching us the why behind it. Helps me retain more information on how it's used and lets me know when to use it. Yeah, that was one of my big challenges in school. Was I was always that kid that was like, but why? Why should I care? Why does this happen the way it does? And then if nobody could explain that to me, I had a really hard problem. Like I had a really hard time retaining the information because I just didn't care about it. If it was just something I was supposed to memorize, I was like, nope, not saving brain space on that. But if somebody could tell me, and this is why, then, or this is how you apply this, then I could spend, brain space on that information. So that's very important to me. Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of a solid structure, right? It's immutable. It's, we can throw it around. We can do different stuff with it. And that's another great point. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the stream. They say immutability makes tuples hashable. That is correct. And it allows for more efficient search. Yes. So yeah, just beyond the obvious, the obvious comparison of the tuple to the key value pair, we can also make our searches more efficient with tuples. Yeah. The almighty hash map. Absolutely. Let's get some data structures and algorithms up in here. Yeah. Alrighty, let's go to the next question. Which of the following tuples is greater than x in the following Python sequence? All right, so we have a tuple here containing the values 5, 1, and 3. So remember how Python compares tuples. We want to find which of these tuples is greater than x. So is it the tuple 600, 0, 1000, 2000? 5, 0, 300, or 4, 100, 200? A, B, C, D. Which one do we think? And we kind of touched on this earlier with the destructuring thing, how Python looks at two tuples at the same time. What order does it do things in? So which one of these is going to be greater than x? What do we think? I'm going to hydrate real quick while y'all think about that. And it's okay if you have to look it up or Google it. That's fine too. First off, how does Python compare tuples? Can anybody tell me that? If Python's looking at two tuples and trying to figure out, which one should be greater than the other, how does it do it? You could also plug these into the Python interpreter too and do it that way, and I would never know. And then you could look like a genius. Any guesses at all? You can just throw A, B, C, or D out there if you're not sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how does it compare? It compares element by element. Uh-huh. For equal length tuple. And Yaya's guessing E. That's fine. Yeah. Throw them out there. So Python compares element by element for equal length tuples. It's going to check each element in each tuple against the other. So comparing one by one until it can determine the proper order. If that helps. Any other guesses? A, okay. We've got A, we've got E. Let's get one more tiebreaker in here. And there's no, points off for the wrong answer. Okay, we've got A. Camo says maybe A, since the first element is larger than the other one. Okay, yeah, let's take a look at these answers. So, yes, we know that Python compares two tuples by looking at each element separately. So it's going to compare the first element in one to the first element in the other, second element to second element, third element to third element, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so with that in mind, the first element in X here is 5. And looking at just the first element, we don't care about the rest of them yet because that's not how Python does it, right? So just looking at the first element, I see immediately that we have a couple contenders here, right? 6 is absolutely greater than 5, and 5 is equal to 5. So by default, 6 is being greater than 5 is going to immediately make this tuple greater than our X tuple here. So this tuple by default is going to be greater than this one. It doesn't matter that the rest of the elements are 0 and 0. It's going to look at the first one. It's going to be like, okay, yep, sorting done. But just for argument's sake, let's look at this one as well here. So 5 and 5 are equal. So Python is going to go to the next element. In this case, 1 is greater than 0 unequivocally, right? It's absolutely greater than 0. So our X here is going to be greater than this one. So I think our best contender is this one right here. And we can do that. We can do a quick test of it here. So we can say, all right, X is this. And we can do our check here. So we'll just grab this and we'll say, is this one greater than X? Yep, true. So it only cares about that first element. Yeah. Well reasoned, chat. Good job. All right, just a couple questions left. We're about halfway done here. So what does the following Python code accomplish, assuming the C is a non-empty dictionary? Okay, so we have a list here. And then we're saying for, wait until I read the question, Upcar. I know you're really good at this, but just pause for just a second. I want folks to have a chance to kind of get through and evaluate. Sudo apt install Golang. No, I do appreciate you y'all participating though. I appreciate the eagerness, definitely. All right, so we've got a list here, and then for K and V in C.items. So C is a non-empty dictionary. C is a non-empty dictionary. And then we're taking the values from C and we're appending them into our list. Okay? So I know that the notation here is a little bit confusing, right? But we'll walk through it here in a minute and we'll pay attention to the order of operations here and the order of the elements that we're iterating through. So is it going to create a list of tuples where each tuple is a value key pair? Is it comparing the largest of all the values in the dictionary? Is it sorting the dictionary based on its key values or computing the average of all the values in the dictionary? So I think we can probably rule some of these out based on just the wording here, but let's walk through exactly what's happening. So we have a list. It's empty right now. We've declared an empty list. And now we have a dictionary with key value pairs because we've been told that it's not empty. So for the keys and the values in our dictionary, we're going to take our empty list and we're going to append a tuple with what? What is it going to be? It's a tuple, right? Because it's got parentheses, but what's going to be in that tuple? Yeah, it says, just checking out Software Twitch for the first time. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it is. There's a ton of other cool software creators in this category. People doing game dev, people doing educational stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty wide and very friendly field as well in general. Yeah. Big Dog says value key pair. Any other guesses? Udkar says A. We got Big Dog value key, Camo value key. Yes. Yeah. And I think I would agree, right? Because it's literally saying, okay, for each key and value in here, we're going to append those items to our list as tuples, but we're reversing their order, right? We're taking the value first, followed by the key. So list of tuples where each tuple is a value key pair. Yeah. I agree. All right, if the variable data is a Python list, how do we sort it in reverse order? So we have a list, so pay attention here. This is a list, so we can sort it. And data, so is it going to be data equals data sort -1, data equals sort rev, and then pass in data as the argument, data.sort.reverse, data.sort reverse equals true. A, B, C, D. What do we think? Okay, go ahead and make your guesses. We got folks saying Oakley says D. Maiva says D. Anybody else? Boskans, welcome to the stream, by the way, boss. Good to have you here. They say C. And this one might be a little bit tricky, especially if you know like other languages, right? This is one of those kind of vocabulary things where the syntax might be correct in another language, but then, you know, in Python it's something different. And that's one of the most tricky things about learning a new language is the syntax. Yeah, we've got, okay, so the consensus seems to mostly be D. And I think I would agree with that. Yeah. If we got folks saying D here, I think I would agree with that. Now, I'm not saying that this is, yeah, yes, as my method is not even on there. Wow. And there could be other ways to do it too, right? There's a, you know, with programming, right? Exactly. There's a million ways to do stuff. And that's one of the coolest things is that, you know, oftentimes there's a, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to do the same thing. And it kind of depends on how you learned, what's the most efficient, what are you trying to accomplish, that type of thing. Yeah. Ambiguity takes time to resolve once logic is done. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. But in any case, for Python specifically, this is the correct syntax here. Reverse equals true. Yeah. Or I will say this, I will say it's the most correct out of the given choices. Yeah. Not to say there's not other ways to do it, but this is the most correct out of the given choices. All right. Given the following tuple, how would you print Wednesday? So WED being short for Wednesday. And also, yeah, if English is not your first language, these abbreviations might be confusing too. So these are just the days of the week. So we've got a tuple of all the days. And then we're saying, all right, how would we print Wednesday, which is the 1, 2, 3rd item in our tuple? So we could do print days.get 1, -1, or print days, and then using index notation 1, print days parentheses 2, print days index notation 2, print days with those symbols reversed. I'm not going to read that out, but you can look at them and you can see. So A, B, C, D, E, or F. Essentially, what is the correct notation to grab the third value in this tuple? What notation would we use? Okay, we've got Maiva saying B. So A, B, so potentially this one. Any other guesses? Free Gooey, welcome to the stream, by the way, Free Gooey. They say D, A, B, C, D, so this one. Boscan says D. Umtham says C. Oh, that's great. I love it when we have a wide spread of potential answers, because that means we get to work through the choices and figure out which one is potentially the best pick. All right, so let's look at this one first. So what is get doing? Well, it's going to try to retrieve the value at the location we specify, right? And then if it can't find it, it's going to return -1. So essentially, try to find this value at this location. If not, return -1. Now, the tricky thing, as always, the eternal tricky thing about working with, arrays or objects or indexes or, whatever in any location is going to be, does it use zero notation or not? Do we start, when we're working through that object, do we start at 0 or 1 for our indexes? And in Python, we start at 0. So the item that we want to find is going to be 0, 1, 2, right? It's going to be at the second index. So in this case, that's not going to return the right value. This one isn't going to return the right value. So we basically have C, D, E, or F as our possibilities. And I kind of gave it away a little bit, but we're using index notation here, right? So what is the correct symbol to use for index notation? Yeah, it's going to be square brackets, right? Square brackets. Yep. So we're looking for the one with index notation square brackets and the correct index, which is this one right here. Yeah. And that's a good point that Action brings up, is that when you see, parentheses next to a value like this, what that's often doing is calling a function, right? Maybe you have a function named days and you're passing in 2 as an argument. So it means kind of something different in general. For example, print itself is a function. We're calling the print function on this, or on this one here. We're calling the print function, and we're passing in this value as the argument as what gets printed. So that's kind of that shows the difference in notation here. So if we want to specify an index, then we use the square brackets instead. I need to sneeze. Excuse me. Oh. Alrighty, almost done here, folks. I think we're doing great. Well, you're doing great. Yeah, boss says this one's similar to JavaScript. Just you change print to console log. Yeah, it is very similar, right? We just change that to console log, and then notation for everything else is exactly the same. So in the following Python loop, why are there 2 iteration variables, k and v? So sort of similar to the other question, right? We have a dictionary with key value pairs, and then we say for k, comma, v in c.items, then et cetera, we do some stuff. So why are there 2 iteration variables? Is it because there are 2 items in the dictionary? Because for each item we want the previous and current key? Because the items method in dictionaries returns a list of tuples? Or because the keys in the dictionary are strings? What do we think, A, B, C, or D here? We kind of talked about this before, but again, this is a good, repetition to see whether or not we actually understand what we were talking about earlier with items. What do we think? Maiva says A, because we want the key value from the dictionary. Any other guesses? This one's a little bit tricky. Yaya says C. Oakley says C. Suds, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. Camo says C. Yeah, okay. So I'm thinking that, is this a wrong answer? It depends on how you interpret it. Because there are two items in the dictionary, I think it's very important that we define what items means. So when we're talking about a dictionary, I would consider both the key and the value to be one item. Those two cannot be separated without kind of destroying the integrity of the data, right? Hey, KR, welcome. Good to have you here. So I would consider this an item. I would consider this an item. I would consider this an item. So this is, again, the wording's a little tricky here, but that's why I don't believe that this is the answer. I also don't believe that this is the answer either. I don't think it has anything to do with previous and current keys because, again, keys don't change. That's the whole point of keys. The values can change, but the keys don't. However, this one here, C, because the items method in dictionaries returns a list of tuples. It does, right? We literally saw that earlier. So right here, if I drag this over, we called items on a similar dictionary, and we saw that it returns a list of tuples. So I think that is a true statement. And if we want to iterate through those items and do something with those key value pairs, then that's essentially what we have to do. We have to iterate through both at the same time. We have to iterate through both at the same time to keep them together. And so I think it's this one. And also, too, I don't think it has anything to do with whether the keys are strings or values. They could be either one. It wouldn't matter. So I think this is the best answer, but we'll see whether or not I'm right. Again, that was a tricky one. So, and this is already kind of a discussion that we've had. The next question here. Given that Python lists and tuples are quite similar, when might you prefer to use a tuple as a list? A, for a temporary variable that you will use and discard without modifying. B, for a list of items you intend to sort in place. C, for a list of items that will be extended as new items are found. Or D, for a list of items that you want to use strings as key values instead of integers. What do we think? A, B, C, or D? I think we can rule a couple of these out immediately based on what we know about tuples. So that might be helpful. Any guesses, chat? What do we think? Okay. Yeah, I love that, Suds. You're like, oof, that's a good question. I think A, but not sure why. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a gut feeling and just putting that out there. If you have a kind of a sense of why, of what might be the right answer, even if you can't quite articulate it. Hey, Crayon, good to see ya. What are we learning about today? We are learning, well, first off, we're reviewing what we did last week. We're on the last question of our quiz. And then we're going to go on to new material. So we're just doing a quick review and we're going to see how we did. Even if you've never looked at Python before, feel free to throw your hat in a ring. We're on question 10. Feel free to make a guess. Maiva says D. All right, so we've got an A. We've got a guess for A. We've got a guess for D. Anybody want to be a tiebreaker? Camo says maybe D because it mentions key values and tuples have a space for each one. Crayon says A. Oh boy, we're still tied, chat. We've got two folks saying A, two folks saying D. So what do we think, chat? Big Dog says when you want to use a string as a key. So D. All right. Free Grease is A. Oh boy, this one's a tough one. Yeah, so I think, kind of going into it, I think we can rule out B and C. So, because again, this specific notation of sorting in place is not possible with a tuple. It would be possible with a list, but the question is specifically, why would we want to use a tuple instead of a list? So not this one. And also same for this one. For a list of items that will be extended. Again, nope, not the right use for a tuple. So yeah, I do agree. I think it could be either A or D. Yeah, I'm leaning towards D just because it's specifically comparing a tuple. But wait, this is weird. I know it is weird. It could be either. I'm feeling like, yeah, that's why I'm really struggling with this one. Because it could be either one, I feel, which, hence I'm not alone given the answers from chat. D is confusing because lists can't be used as keys in dictionaries, but tuples can. Yeah. But pretty sure it's A. Yeah. So, initially I was leaning towards A. But yeah, temp variable. Yeah. Using a tuple makes sense since it's more efficient if performance is a concern. Okay. Yeah. Does anybody have a strong opinion and want to be a tiebreaker here? Because yeah, I'm genuinely torn between these two. I'm not putting this on just to challenge you, chat. I'm genuinely vote A. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick scan here at the material. Let's see. I think there's a section on dictionaries and tuples. They can be. Yes, they can be permanent, Maiva. Yes, they absolutely can be. Well, so Crayon, the confusing thing here is that it's asking specifically when would you use a tuple rather than a list. So it's not asking about dictionaries, which is the confusing part. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is talking about tuples as keys in dictionaries. If we wanted to create a composite key to use a dictionary, but that's not the point here. Okay, so strings are mutable. Okay, there's a few cases where you might prefer tuples. Syntactically simpler to create. If we want to use a sequence as a dictionary key. If you are passing a sequence as an argument or to a function. Okay, none of those help. Yes, a tuple is an immutable list, correct? Yeah, tuples don't really have keys. Yeah. All right. Now you got me leaning back towards A. Because it's, mentioning that tuples are syntactically simpler to create. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with A. We'll see if I'm wrong. All the people who chose D can feel free to gloat if you choose. All right. So we're gonna go with that one. We'll see what we get, right? Let's see what we get, chat. Okay. And then once we get this graded, then we can talk through why it probably chose that. Okay. All right, let's check. Oh, we got it. Let's go, chat. Way to go. Woo. Yeah. All right. Good job, everybody. We crushed it. Okay, so going back down to this, so yeah, A was the right answer here. But yeah, this one was genuinely tricky. And I think the thing that was throwing me off was that it was saying, all right, when would you prefer to use a tuple over a list? And comparing those two types explicitly, regardless of any others. Just like my ex, tuples don't have keys. Oh, that's a good one. I love that. Oh my goodness. Oh, by the way, hi Matthias. I saw you popped in earlier. My apologies. I missed your message. Yeah. Okay. So, as Yaya kind of put there in chat, if you weren't sure what they were doing, it was essentially they were checking the size of printing tuples versus lists. So tuples are actually smaller. They can't be modified, and they're syntactically easier to create than a list. So something like in a return statement, it's easier to create a tuple than a list, because you don't have to, you don't have to declare them with parentheses or any kind of markings. You can just put something comma delimited, and that becomes a tuple. So why is it not D? Well, remember that we're comparing tuples and lists here explicitly. So regardless of dictionaries, looking at a dictionary, right? We can use strings as key values in a dictionary, but in a list, yeah, we're going to use integers as the key value. But in tuples, we're going to use index notation as well, right? We can have key value tuple pairs, but if you want to access a value within that tuple, you're still going to have to use index notation. You're still going to have to use, integer index notation. Okay. I'm dying on the A hills. That's hey, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, this one was definitely confusing, but good job, chat. We got it. Right, it's misleading because it directly mentioned a key value where you would actually need to use a tuple. Yeah. Action says, why don't you come online on YouTube as well? Just a question. I've thought about it. There's, I could multi-stream with Streamlabs, and I actually just thought about that today. I was like, I should test that out sometime. It's probably not something I'm going to try for the first time during this series, like during this Python series. But when we start, our next thing, like our next project, I probably will try multi-streaming to YouTube. The only danger is with that is that, I have a very wholesome chat, right? You guys are great. You guys do great. I have to, I have to do minimal cleanup or moderation, in terms of, people getting in here and wilding out and saying stuff they shouldn't be saying. So because you guys are so awesome, I have to do very little of that. But if I go over to YouTube, that's an entirely new platform that I have to simultaneously moderate, Twitch chat and YouTube. So it's another hurdle to kind of overcome in terms of the amount of things I have to do while I'm streaming. Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, I'm well aware of YouTube being a wild and unruly place. Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know like the types of moderation you can, enforce there and that type of thing. I just don't know about that. So it would just be something I'd have to learn. Donald says, who is the best Doctor Who? I have a soft spot for the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. Of course, everybody loves the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. And actually David Tennant was my first Doctor. I love him. He's great. But the 11th Doctor really grew on me. I think he's the best Doctor out of all the Doctors. Yeah. Just the best at being the Doctor. Yeah, YouTube lets people take time to read and watch at 1.5 to catch up with chat. That's true. Yeah. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. YouTube gets wild. All right, good job, everybody. Good job, chat. Yeah, I'll think about it. It's something I'm gonna have to, it's essentially just, it's more work, right? More legwork. I'll, have to have a mod, like a dedicated mod team, whereas you guys are so excellent that I can mostly just use auto moderator and, and get in there myself and ban people if I need to, but I don't have a dedicated mod team. I just have me. So, I'd have to recruit a mod team and manage them and, do all those things. So yeah, it's just more work. Not saying I won't, but it's just, do I want to put in the work or not? Alrighty. So good job. We have ace tuples. That doesn't mean that, we're never going to see them again. The way this course works, we often get the chance to revisit topics we've already learned. But for now, we are going to move on to our next subject, which is the big dog, regular expressions, often called regex, or I've even heard somebody refer to it as regex, but often called regular expressions or regex. Yeah. Yeah, Crayon Crayosler. Oh, regex. Yeah. Oh, suddenly really loud, like bunch of crows outside my window. I can hear them like screaming. Regular expressions. Yeah. I actually heard somebody say regex. I can't even hardly say that. But yeah, they can be very useful, but they're often seen as kind of like arcane black magic by most programmers, myself included. It's not to say that I don't use regex. I do. Not every day, but often enough. And I often have to use it for, I work with big data, right? I work with big data sets. And, maybe I need to go through a table with 60 million rows and I need to strip out all the HTML tags. Now, HTML tags could come in all different forms, right? You could have paragraphs, you could have headers, you could have all these things, but the common denominator between them is that they have open and close brackets on either side. So if I needed to loop through a table with 60 million rows and strip out all the, open bracket, close bracket, and the stuff in between, the best way for me to do that is regex. Create an expression that looks for that character combination, and grabs all the stuff in between and nukes it for me. So those are the types of things that I've had to use regex for, but I have never understood how to build regex from scratch. I mostly, use a generator, use an online tool to generate the regex for me. And there's nothing wrong with doing that either. A lot of people do that. That's why there's so many tools out there. But it will be nice to know, kind of more of, okay, if I'm looking at regex, can I read it and figure out what it's doing? Yeah, regex is really good for advent of code, and regex is really good for just efficiently working with strings. I mean, that's what it's for. It allows us to search for patterns in strings and extract data from strings using the regular expression programming language. Yeah. You leave the XSS and the cross-site scripting and push to prod. Everybody knows this. Yeah. Gosh. You got to love it when students just paste like an entire web page into a quiz answer box and it just preserves all the HTML. It's terrible. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, we had at the start of this stream, we actually had Dr. Chuck, the creator of this course, pop into chat, which was great. And he mentioned that, yeah, he uses, LLMs and AI to generate and explain regex for him too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but it is nice to know how it works under the hood. Because you don't know if what it's giving you is any good if you don't understand how it works, right? So if you don't understand how it works, then how are you going to know if what you're getting out of the if you're getting what you're getting out of the AI model is any good in the first place? So let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, Blood Mirror says, Chuck, really? What was his username? CC4E. Just CC4E. I'll give him another shout out here. But yeah, he was very kind. He gifted somebody a sub earlier on. CC4E. Quick shout out. Shout out. There we go. So yeah, please give Dr. Chuck a follow. He's the creator of this wonderful free course. So show him some love. He's also, I think he's also Dr. Chuck Severance on Twitter and Blue Sky. So check him out there. Let's show him our appreciation. Alrighty. We're almost ready for a break here. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chapter and then, and he's got a quick guide too. It's perfect. Alrighty, so yeah, we've got a chapter here. And then I think I want to see what this quick guide is. Go back. Oh, perfect. Okay, so yeah, and there's also this, basic text file here with some quick guides to regular expressions. So I would suggest that, you bookmark this, take a look. He only has 6 followers. I know, right? Let's get him some more. And let me get his, during the break, I'll get Dr. Chuck's Blue Sky handle, because he's got his Twitter on his website, but he doesn't have his Blue Sky handle. So during the break, I'll get that for you all, and I'll post it in chat when we come back so everybody can follow him on Blue Sky. Okay? Alrighty, so let's take a break because it's perfect time to pause. We're going to take 5 minutes, and then when we come back, we're going to dig on into regex and try not to make our brains explode. Okay? Sounds good. See you back here in 5 minutes. Alrighty, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so please come on back if you're coming at. As always, please make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure if you were sitting this whole time that you got up and you stretched, rolled your wrists, rolled your ankles, rolled your neck, don't get carpal tunnel, etc. And before you come on back, please, as always, pet your dogs, pet your cats, pet your kids, pet your significant other with their permission, of course, and then come on back. Alrighty, folks. Action says, I had a fight with my significant other when I tried to pet her. That's why I said with their permission. You have to ask for consent. Come on now. As promised, here is Dr. Chuck, the creator of the Python for Everyone course. Here is his Blue Sky profile. And he's got some, let me tell you, he's worth following because he's got some absolute bangers on here. Posting mostly pictures of his cats and squirrels and Christmas decorations, which, I mean, what more do you want? And then, his most recent post here is, and I'll post his handle here in chat, is Dr. Chuck at bluesky.social. Look at that. I guess it didn't want me to copy that. All right, fine, I'll type it. Dr. Chuck dot bsky dot social. There we go. So that's his profile or his handle. So if you copy and paste that, I don't know if the link will work, but if you copy and paste that, that's him. And also I really like his most recent post here. So he says Gen AI, meaning generative AI, appeared in winter 23. I adjusted my teaching in fall 23 to compensate for AI. After 3 semesters, I learned that Gen AI is great for strong students and harmful for weak students. For winter 25, I'm going back to my pre-AI approach. Students can make bad choices if they want to. So what he's saying there is essentially that it's not wrong to use AI. It's not wrong to use AI. But what you should do is make sure that you're actually learning the concepts behind what you're using AI for first, right? Because otherwise you're not going to know if what you're getting out of it is worth is worth it or not, or if it's complete garbage. The best way to use AI is that you already have a basic understanding of what you're asking it about, or a general idea of the concepts. And then you're just using AI to refine your approach, to generate codes, to troubleshoot, that sort of thing, to maybe explain a topic further. So it's not bad. But what he's saying here is that AI is great for strong students because they already understand the concepts. They're just using it to do better, to do more, to be more efficient. But harmful for weak students because they're using it as a crutch without understanding what they're even using it for. So love that. Love him. Please give him a follow. He's worth it. So, and he pastes cute pictures of his squirrels and Christmas decorations. So I think it's worth it. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to catch him with chat here. Sorry. Yeah, so you can have that discussion, Yaya and M4T, but maybe not here because we're just going to start. We're going to start with like the basics of Regex. So if you want to debate, which AI model is best for Regex, that's fine. But maybe if you can do it on Discord or Twitter or someplace else, because that's not really going to be the point of today's lesson. It's going to be the point of today's lesson is going to be just let's learn the fundamentals of Regex, and then everybody can make the decision from there. Whether they want to do it themselves or use an AI model to help them, or one of the other dozens of AI Regex generators out there. Yeah, Sud says, we're nowhere close to knowing how to study well using AI as a tool, so it makes sense lots of students are going to end up doing worse by using it. Yep, 100%. That's a big. I know that's a big challenge for teachers right now. Is how much do they incorporate AI into their lessons versus not. Action says 100 devs or Learn with Leon Discord is the place to hang. Learn with Leon Discord is the Discord for 100 devs. So that's the best place. Hey, ST. Yeah, and we were just talking about that. Welcome to the stream, by the way. We were just talking about that. And like I said, you can use AI for regex. There's nothing. There's 100 different sites out there, and you can, yeah, of course, I could go to a dozen different sites right now and have it generate my regex for me. Um, oh, Osborne, hey, welcome. But the point here is that you should be cautious about just using AI blindly without understanding the concepts behind it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn the concepts behind regex, and then you can go off and forget all that and, use a tool if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should understand, okay, is what the tool has given me, is that correct? Is it maybe a little bit off? Maybe something looks wrong about this. Maybe I should try again, something like that. You're going to have more safeguards in place if you understand the mechanics behind what your AI is giving you. How's it going, Osborne? Welcome to the stream, by the way. Alrighty, here we go. So first off, not everybody here might be familiar with regex. So a lot of what we've been doing with Python so far is just going through files and pulling bits out of the files, right? Looking for a line that matches a certain string or pattern and pulling bits of data out of it, like email addresses or domains or whatever. So we've been using things like split and find, and then, doing string slicing, using index values and that type of thing. So Python has a very powerful module called regular expressions because working with strings is very common in Python. And it handles many of these tasks quite elegantly. And but regular expressions are very powerful, but they are a little complicated and the syntax takes some getting used to. I think we would all agree with that, right? You look at regex and it literally looks like somebody, fell asleep on a keyboard. Or maybe their cat walked across it. And could you even tell the difference? So regular expressions are almost their little own programming language for searching and parsing strings. As a matter of fact, entire books have been written on the topic of regular expressions. In this chapter, we'll cover only the basics. But you can look at the wiki for regular expressions. You can look at the Python docs for more. But again, the idea here is not that you come away from it knowing everything about regular expressions. The idea here is that you come away with an understanding of the fundamentals so that when you're using an AI tool and it gives you something that might be a little off, that you can recognize that. Yeah. Elfman, welcome to the stream. They say Wikipedia for regex is pretty good. Yeah, check out the links, if you need a deeper dive, certainly. So the regular expression module, RE, must be imported into your program before you can use it. Simplest use of regular expressions is the search function. The following program demonstrates a trivial use of the search function. So first we're importing that module, and then we are opening this mbox short file. We've used this before, and we're essentially just opening it with a file handler here. We're looping through each line, and chat, what is rstrip doing? I know I'm throwing a curveball at you here, but what is rstrip doing, chat? Yes, and regex also works with JavaScript. That's correct. Yep. Works with a lot of languages. It works with, a bunch of different languages you can use regex, and that's the cool part, is that, it's pretty versatile in terms of where you can use it. Fran, that's funny. Good regex is a deliberate string of characters that looks like someone threw their keyboard down the stairs in frustration at having to construct a regular expression. Yeah. Yeah, what's this rstrip doing? Yeah, we're essentially what we're doing here is you got the right idea. We're essentially taking each line. So we've found each line already. So we want to, we've already denoted which line is which, and it's taking that line and it's stripping it, but it's specifically stripping it right. So rstrip specifically. Yeah, so R strip is essentially getting rid of any extra white space. So anything from the right side of the string, it's going to get rid of any extra white space there. So going from the right side of the string to the, white space on the right side. Yeah, so going from like the from working from right to left versus left to right. So working from right to left, it's going to eliminate any white space until it reaches a character. So once we've done that, we run search on that and we say, okay, looking for a lot. If that first value of the line is from, then return the line. If it's not, then skip it. So essentially it's saying, all right, if that line contains the word from, colon, and we know based on our knowledge of the file that it's going to be the first word in the line, then print it. Steven says opens without close or with statement. Yeah, and a lot of the scripts in this course don't bother with that. Now, I'm not saying that that's best practice or anything, but they're generally just little raw scriptlets, Yeah. So the power of regex, and you're right. It doesn't necessarily look for the first part of the line to be from. It looks for from anywhere in the line. We just know based on our knowledge of the of the file itself, because we've seen it before, that it's going to be the first value in the line if it exists. Yeah. But yeah, in this case, it's not explicitly looking for the first value to be from. It's just looking for the word from anywhere in the line. So the power of regex comes when we add special characters to the search that allows us to more precisely control which lines match the string. Adding these special characters to our code, to our regular expression, allow us to do sophisticated matching and extraction. No, you're good, Cran. And extraction while writing very little code. For example, the caret character, that's really hard to say. The caret character is used in regular expressions to match the beginning of a line. So we could change our program to only match lines where from was at the beginning of the line as followed. So everything is exactly the same except our actual search value here. So we're saying, okay, essentially starts with from. So if the line starts with from, then return that line value. And Prosper says, we were working with emails, I believe. Yes, we were. Yep. So essentially like raw email metadata. So with this character in place, we're only going to match lines that start with the string from. This is a very simple example that we could have done equivalently with the starts with method from the string module, but it serves to introduce the notion that regular expressions contain special action characters that give us more control as to what will match the regular expression. And in this case, just using that little caret character was actually much simpler than calling this whole method, right? We could just use this. Oh, hey, that's one character, right? Very simple. We can use other special characters to build even more powerful regular expressions. The most commonly used special character is the period or full stop, which matches any character. In the following example, the regular expression f.m would match any of the strings from fxxm, f12m, or f, and then, exclamation point @m. So it's essentially saying that as long as the F and then two characters and then the M colon are present, we can put any two characters that we want in between the F and the M. Because all it's looking for is starts with capital F, has two characters, then has a lowercase m and a colon. So in this case, this could return the word from, it could return the word form, it could return the word foam, right? Any, flim, it could return any possible word with two characters between that F and the M. So we could see how this could potentially be useful, right? And kind of the example I was talking about before, let's say you have a specific HTML tag that you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for, HTML tags with, I don't know, single characters like the P tag or the A tag or the B tag, right? You only want to return HTML tags that are single character. Well, you could do that. You could say, all right, angle bracket dot angle bracket, and that would return any HTML tags with a single character in them. Crayon says, I'm guessing we have no leading white space in this file. Yeah, well, in this case, I think he's just kind of reminding us of the different strip methods we could use. There's no harm in using the, full strip method to strip white space from either side. There's no harm in that. In this case, he sometimes likes to call back to, methods that we might not have had much chance to practice and use them again to make sure that we keep getting exposed to them. So I think that's, probably the reason he's using it here. Hey, TransK, good to see you. Welcome. Good to have you here. You're just in time for the good stuff, Trance. We're talking about regular expressions. Alrighty, this is particularly powerful when combined with the ability to indicate that a character can be repeated any number of times using the star or plus characters in your regex. These special characters mean that instead of matching a single character in the search string, they match 0 or more characters in the case of the asterisk, or 1 or more of the characters in the case of the plus sign. We can further narrow down the lines that we match using a repeated wildcard character in the following example. Okay, so once again, everything's the same, except when we get to the search here. So again, we see starts with, and then the word from, and then the dot indicating a single character, and then the plus indicating 1 or more characters, and then the at. So it's successfully matching lines that start with from, followed by 1 or more characters, followed by an at sign. So how would that work? Well, it's going to say, all right, from matches, and then essentially 1 or more characters, in this case, this area here, followed by the at sign. Oh, Yengi, thank you so much for the sub. Hang on, I've got a new sub screen. Hooray! Because my sub alerts don't work, so I made one of my own. Thank you for the sub, Yengi. I'm glad I got the chance to use that. And a Prime sub, too. That's great. That means it didn't cost you anything. So that's even better. Thank you for the sub, Yengi. Good to have you here. Alrighty. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, we were just looking at this. Thank you, Maiva. I made it myself. Can you tell? It's got Comic Sans and everything. So in this case, the from, so starts with from, and then we've got the dot to indicate a character, and then the plus for 1 or more, and then the at sign saying, all right, it must conclude with an at sign. So in this case, this line meets all the, well, I shouldn't say it must conclude with an at sign. It must have an at sign after 1 or more characters. So in this case, what that's doing is it's essentially making sure that we have not only the word from, but also an email address, or at least the start of one. So we have the start of an email address containing an at sign. And another thing to note here is that you might have seen the wildcard character before. I certainly have. In another language like SQL. Wildcard characters are extremely commonly used in a language like SQL. Chat, does anybody know where we would use a wildcard or the star here in SQL? What's the most common usage of the wildcard character in SQL? Curious if there's any other SQL folks out there in chat. Not even anything that complicated. Yeah, RDT says select everything. Yeah, exactly. Select star from table, all columns. Yeah, essentially it just means you've heard of SQL. Hey, that counts. It's all good. Yeah, we're just picking. Yeah, all we're doing is the wildcard in SQL. If I say select star from the table, whatever that table name is, that just means give me everything. And it's exactly the same meaning as regex, where regex means 0 or more. So just give me, like, it could be any number, right? We could have 0 all the way up to a bajillion. That's the kind of the same meaning in SQL. Give me as many columns as there are in the table, right? Give me literally everything in the table, no matter how much it is. So yeah, same meaning in SQL as in regex here, essentially. Give me everything. Yeah. Okay. So again, that's one of those common, parallelisms between different languages, right? So we can think of the dot plus wildcard as expanding to match all the characters between the colon character and the @ sign. It's good to think of the plus and asterisk characters as pushy. For example, the following string would match the last @ sign in the string as the dot plus pushes outwards, as shown below. So in this case, we can kind of see what he's talking about there, in that the last @ sign in the string is actually all the way out here, right? So in this case, we had one string with an @ sign in it, but in this case, we have a bunch of them, but it's going to match the last @ sign in the string. So it's actually matching against this one here. But it's still picking up, everything in between, because it's just saying, all right, one or more characters, yep, that works, and here's an @ sign. It's possible to tell an asterisk or plus sign not to be so greedy by adding another character. See the detailed documentation for information on turning off the greedy behavior. Okay, we'll skip that for now, but we can go back and look at that at the end if we need it. Alrighty, so how do we use regex to extract data? We can use the findAll method to extract all of the substrings which match a regular expression. Let's use the example of wanting to extract anything that looks like an email address from any line, regardless of format. So we want to pull all the email addresses from these following lines. So we can see here that the lines are all formatted differently. We've got one that starts with from and kind of a bare email address here. This one, has tags around it, and it's got a completely different domain format, different symbols here. So we got a kind of a different construction for each line. So how can we go through and actually retrieve only the email addresses? So what we can do is write some regex and use findAll to return all the results for each of these. So we're defining a string here to say a message from this email address to this email address about a meeting at 2 p.m. So notice we're going to need to be very careful about our regex construction, because there's an @ sign here too. And if we just said, all right, give me everything, up to the @ sign, well, then we're going to end up with all this stuff that we don't want prior to the last one. So we're going to call findAll and pass in this string, and then we'll print that. So let's try that real quick. And then we'll go through and, see exactly how it works. All right, do this. Oops, hang on. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. String. Pass in this. Oh, invalid escape sequence. Okay. Maybe I need to have it. Maybe I need to do it in a script. Let's do that. Oops. And do this. Okay. All right, now we'll try to run this. Okay, still doesn't like that, but it did return the addresses. It says invalid escape sequence, but it did actually return the email addresses if I drag that over. Oh, wait, no, it did. Oh, no, it did work. Okay. Wait, no, it didn't. Never mind. It still says, so you can't quite see that behind my video, but it says invalid escape sequence /s. But it did, in the end, it did work and returned the email addresses. So I don't know, but I'm sure maybe they'll tell us as we keep going. Regex is still, magic to me at this point. Yeah, Crayon says, I think the IDE is trying to interpret the regular expression as a regular string. It might be. It is interesting that, this is the first thing that's had a problem with. Everything else has worked just fine with no interpretation issues. So, yeah, I don't know. We're using a 2-character sequence that matches a non-white space character. And it still gave me the right output as well. So it's not like it couldn't understand that this was regex, because it still gave me the right output. Yankee says, I just started the 3rd part. How long do you think it will take me to catch up? Each one of the streams is like 3 hours. So it just depends. I mean, I don't know, what your existing skill level is or anything like that. But, they'll all be available on YouTube here soon. I'm probably next weekend, I'm going to move all the current parts to YouTube. Some of them are on there already. So you could, watch at 1.5 speed if you wanted. But the important thing is not how long it takes. It's more of, are you understanding the material, right? So my answer is going to be, it takes as long as it takes for you to understand the material. And I don't know how long that is. So you can catch up at whatever speed you like, at whatever pace you like, because they're all going to be available for you to watch, whenever you have time. I know that's kind of a non-answer, but that's the only answer I can give you. All right, so let's look through this and maybe we'll figure out why, VS Code doesn't like it. Yeah. So let's translate it. We're looking for substrings that have at least one non-white space character followed by an @. Okay. Non-white space character followed by an @. So at least one, that's the plus sign there. So if I zoom in here, a little bit. So at least one non-white space character, and the plus meaning at least one, followed by an @. And then followed by at least one more non-white space character. So the /s plus matches as many non-white space characters as possible. So yeah, okay, at least one non-white space character, @, at least one more non-white space character. But it would not match the string. So it would match on the email addresses, and it did, but would not match the string at 2 p.m. because there are no non-blank characters before the @. Yeah, so that's why this one, doesn't get returned, because there's no non-white space characters prior to the @. Burn the candle at both ends. Best way to learn 2x quickly. Oops, that's for burnout. Yeah, absolutely don't do that. Learn at a pace that's sustainable, not a pace that's fast or trying to meet a specific deadline. Yeah. So we can use this regular expression in a program to read all the lines in a file and print out anything that looks like an email address as follows. Okay, let's try this one too here. Oops. Oh, hang on. All right, I'll drag this over again. So I've just copied and pasted the file here directly from, I haven't changed anything. I've just pasted it directly from the text. So we'll save that. And what it's going to do is it's going to open this mbox short file. It's going to loop through each line, getting rid of any white space characters on the right-hand side. And it's going to run that same check to say, hey, is there at least one white space character, is there at least one non-white space character on either side of the @? And it's going to, find all of those. And then it's going to check and see, did we find any lines that have, that meet this criteria, right? Because it's possible that none of the lines in the file could meet the criteria. And so if we found at least one, then we want to print them. All right. So we saved that. Then we'll run this. Yeah, okay. So it worked. Nice. Now, chat, why did it print each email address on a separate line? Why did it print each email address on a separate line, chat? Dooku says because of the if. But if, it's why didn't it just print them all on the same line? Dooku says because every time it finds an email, it prints. And why is that? Why is it printing every time it finds an email? Right. Yes, exactly. Because of where the print statement is in the loop, right? It's inside the for loop. Now, we could create a variable to store all these values, right? We could create a list variable to store all these values, in an ongoing list and wait until the loop is finished and then have the print statement. We could have the print statement down here, right? If we had X as kind of a variable up here, we could loop through the whole thing, store each value in the list, and then print once at the very end. But the way it's built currently is that the print statement is inside the loop. So it's going to print every single email address as it finds it. Yeah. And it does, in Action's right, yes, print does have a default new line character at the end. And so after each one, it is going to also do a carriage return and start a new line. Yep. So this one did seem to work. It still gave me the warning about the invalid. And again, you guys can't really see that. I'll move it over a little. It gave me the warning about the invalid escape sequence. But the funny thing is, it still worked. So it's like it's warning me about that, but it's still parsing it correctly. So syntax warning, invalid escape sequence, and then it just goes ahead and does it anyway. So at least it's still understanding what the regex is trying to do at very least. Alrighty. So we're reading each line, extracting the substrings, and we get the following output, which we did. Now, some of our email addresses have incorrect characters, and they do. Yeah. So in this case, some of these still have brackets around them. We can see that in my output too. We still got some with brackets, colons, etc. Let's declare that we're only interested in the portion of the string that starts and ends with a letter or a number, because we want to get rid of these tags or colons or extra characters. To do this, we use another feature of regular expressions. We can use square brackets to indicate a set of multiple acceptable characters that we are willing to consider matching. In the sense, the /s is asking to match the set of non-whitespace characters. However, we can be a little bit more explicit in terms of the characters that we will match. So instead, or in addition, I should say, we're going to say, okay, essentially we want to only match the characters, A through Z, lowercase, or A through Z, uppercase, or 0 through 9, numeric. So those are going to be, all right, we want to match only that sort of alphabetical or numeric character set prior to the @ sign, or that same character set after the @ sign. And as he says, this is getting a little complicated, and you can begin to see why regular expressions are their little own language unto themselves. Translating this regular expression, we're looking for substrings that start with a single lowercase letter, uppercase letter, or number, followed by 0 or more non-blank characters, followed by an @ sign, followed by 0 or more non-blank characters, followed by an uppercase or lowercase letter. Note that we switched from the plus sign to the asterisk to indicate 0 or more non-blank characters, since this character set is already one non-blank character. So I'll say that again. So he switched from the plus sign to the asterisk because this part of the regular expression is already saying that it needs to find at least one. So we no longer need the plus sign to indicate at least one, because this part of the expression is indicating, okay, at least match on one. So then we can just use the asterisk. So now if we use this, we should get cleaner data. Let's see. Got to go all the way down to the bottom here. Run this again. Alrighty, and I can already tell that looks better. Yeah, so no weird characters. We're only getting emails that start or end. You can see here, like this one starts with a number and it's pretty wild, right? But it's still valid. So no more brackets, no more parentheses, or anything that's not a lower or uppercase letter or a integer 0 through 9. All right, so I know this one was kind of wild, so I'm going to pause here for a second. And it's okay to say, hey, I don't understand. Can you please go through it again? Or, hey, I'm not quite sure. Can you just walk through this again? I think I've almost got it. That type of thing. That's perfectly fine. And there's also no such thing as I normally say this at the start, but I forgot. There's also no such thing as a silly question or a stupid question. Those don't exist as long as it's asked in good faith, right? All right, I'm going to take a quick hydrate. I've definitely seen this. I've definitely seen this sequence before. I think this is pretty common. Okay, Umtham says the difference between asterisk and plus would be nice. Yeah, so they're similar, but the asterisk refers to matching on 0 or more characters. So this allows that there could be no characters, potentially. But the plus limits it to 1 or more characters. So there has to be 1 or more matching characters. So the difference here is just 1 character, really. This could potentially match on 0 or more. This could match on 1 or more. So that's why the expression switched from using the plus sign here originally to the asterisk here, because we added this expression. So this expression has to match on 1 character, and so does this one, has to match on 1 character. But the asterisk then says, okay, match on 0 or more, but this one already matches on 1. So it's essentially fulfilling the same job as the plus sign. So we can switch the asterisk because this is already taking into account matching on at least 1 character. Okay? Okay, hope that makes a little bit of sense. Action says, can you use enumerate on hand and show the line number in print statement? I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. Can you ask it in a different way? I want to answer your question, but I'm not sure I understand what you're asking for there. Show the line number in print statement. Yeah, feel free to ask again. I'm just not quite following your question, Action. Okay. We eliminated the brackets. We eliminated the colons. We're saying whatever string the regular expression parser finds must end with a letter because we added this module here. And when it sees that non-letter character at the end of the email, it simply stops at the last matching letter it found. And, in this case being the G. Sud says, I think they mean reformatting the output in the loop so each line is prefixed with a number. I mean, you could do that. You could have so what you would need to do is probably have a separate counter that's counting each line as you're looping through it, right? And you would just, increment that counter by 1 for each line. And if this is true, you would print, count, comma, X, or, line number, colon, and then the value that you're currently on for the line number, and then the actual value of the email address. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what you would do, Dooku. Yeah. Yeah, that's something you absolutely can do. Yeah. You could put whatever, you could have whatever counters going you want in here, and add that to your print statement. Okay. So combining searching and extraction. Oh, Crayon says you could do that for index, comma, line in enumerate. Print index, comma, line. Oh, okay, maybe that's what they were asking for. specifically using enumerate. Yeah, potentially. I don't think we've used that here on, in any of these exercises yet. But hey, as we've talked about, there's a lot of different ways to do this stuff, right? So that definitely sounds like one of them. Alrighty, so combining, searching, and extracting. If we want to find numbers on lines that start with the string X, such as this stuff here, this starts with capital X dash. We don't just want any floating point numbers from any lines. We only want to extract numbers from lines that have the above syntax. Okay, so how do we construct that? Well, we're sort of applying some of the stuff we already know, right? Starts with X dash, and then has a character, and then potentially more characters, and then a colon, and then a space, and then values 0 through 9, followed by a decimal, and then one or more characters, looks like. We'll see if that's right. We want lines that starts with X dash, followed by 0 or more characters. Yep. Followed by a colon, and I think I said one or more here, and I apologize. That's 0 or more, followed by a colon, and then a space, which is right there. After the space, we're looking for one or more characters that are either a digit, 0 through 9, or a period, so for the decimal here. And then inside the square brackets, the period matches an actual period. Yeah, that's an important distinction. So rather than just being a signifier for like a character, inside of the brackets, that means that we're looking for a literal period, a literal dot. So it's not symbolic, it's a literal dot. So we're saying look for 0 through 9 or a dot, and it's one or more characters. So this is a very tight expression that will pretty much match only the lines we are interested in as follows. So once again, we're going to open that up, stripping off white space from the right-hand side, and then we're doing a search. And we're saying, okay, starts with, now this is interesting because it's slightly different than the example above, right? Slightly different syntax. But it's essentially saying, look for a line that starts with X and then contains a non-white space character followed by, 0 or more characters in addition, then a colon, then a space, then 0 through 9 or a period, and that should be one or more characters. Gnarly, but useful. So when we run it, we get essentially what it's looking for, right? X followed by some stuff, and then a colon, then a space, and then any, 0 through 9 or a colon, and then at least one or more characters there. Oh, what did I say, Crayon? I apologize if I misspoke. Yes, so non-white space characters, 0 or more. I don't know what I said, but... Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, 0 or more. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying the wrong thing there. I know what it's supposed to do. I've got something lodged in my brain, I guess. That's good. That's why we repeat ourselves, right? All right. Yes, 0 or more non-white space characters, followed by a space and a colon, and then 0 through 9 or a dot. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Good to make sure. Yeah. And so what that returns is essentially these values here. But now we have to solve the problem of extracting the numbers. So we could use split, because, essentially we know what we'd want to split on, right? We would want to say, all right, I'm looking for, colon space and grab everything after that, right? But we can use another feature of regular expressions to both search and parse the line at the same time. So parentheses are another special character in regular expressions. When you add parentheses to a regular expression, they are ignored when matching the string. But if you're using find all, parentheses indicate that while you want the whole expression to match, you are only interested in extracting a portion of the substring that matches the regular expression. Okay, that's interesting. So let's go through that again. When we're using find all, we can put in a whole expression to match an entire line, but we can use parentheses to denote the part that we actually care about. So we want it to match the entire line because the line has a very specific format, but then we can use the parentheses to say, hey, I only want to extract this one part of the line that I matched on. All right, so let's see what happens here. We're going to search for lines that start with X, followed by any non-whitespace characters, and a colon, followed by a space and any number. The number can include a decimal. Then print the number if it is greater than 0. So only print the number. We don't want to print the whole line. Even though we're matching on the whole line, we don't want to print it. We only want to print the number. So how do we do that? Okay, everything else here is the same. And we're going to say, okay, starts with X, followed by any non-whitespace characters, colon space, number and decimal, and then print the number if it's greater than 0. Okay, but notice where the parentheses are here. The parentheses are after the colon space. So the parentheses indicate the only part that we want to assign into X, which we're then going to print. So let's try that. This is a good one to try. So notice the major addition here being the parentheses, which indicate the part of the line that we actually want to extract and store into X. Sud says, extraction in regex is new to me, so that's really cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool, isn't it? So powerful. So difficult. All right, save this. And then we'll run it. So it's going to match on the whole line, but the only thing we should get back are the numbers. Yeah, and that's what we do. So a whole honking lot of numbers, right? If I can get back down there. So again, it still gives me a syntax warning, but in the end, it does return the right values. Now, if I didn't have the parentheses, let's just do it without the parentheses here. Save to show the difference. I'm just going to clear the terminal because this is getting ridiculous. I don't want to kill the terminal. I want to clear it. I always forget where that is. There we go. Clear terminal. Okay. I should have this. There we go. Yeah. So when I don't have the parentheses, I get the whole line. Or I should say, the whole part of the line that matches my regex string. But as soon as I add the parentheses, that controls what I actually want to get out of that string. Which, yeah, that's pretty neat. It gives you a lot more flexibility with the, the way you're doing your matching. A lot more control. Yeah, there we go. That's just the numbers. Neato. Okay, so instead of calling search, we add parentheses around the part of the regular expression that represents the number. And that's the output that we got. Perfect. The numbers are still in a list and needs to... Null says you can type CLS in the terminal. Okay, yeah, I'll try that next time. The numbers are still in a list and need to be converted from strings to a floating point. But we have used the power of regular expressions to both search and extract the information we found interesting. As another example of this technique, if you look at the file, there are a number of lines of the form. If we wanted to extract all the revision numbers, the integer number at the end of these lines, using the same technique as above, we could write the following program. Okay, so once again, we're looking in the same file, and we're saying, okay, find a line that starts with details, and then is followed by any number of characters, which are then followed by rev equals, and then one or more digits, essentially. So we're saying, hey, any digit 0 through 9, going to be at least 1, and only return the numeric part of that string. So we can see here an example of what a line like that might look like. I need to sneeze. Hang on. Woo! All right. So here's an example of what one of those lines might look like, but we only care about this very last little part of the line. Thanks, Crayon. All right. We want to find the lines that match the entire expression, but we only want to extract the integer number at the end of the line. So we surround the part that we want with parentheses. So yeah, let's test this one as well. Okay, save. And I'll try that. I'll try CLR here. Okay, do I need to be in... Oh, CLS, sorry. I could read. Nope. I am in Bash, if that makes a difference. Clear? Okay. There we go. Yeah. So I'm in Git Bash. So I had to type full clear. I wasn't in PowerShell. Yeah. So it does make it, the type of terminal you're using does make a difference in this case, as it does with most things. Sometimes super annoying, right? All right. Let's try to run this again. Yay. Yep. We get a nice clean list of revision numbers here. Awesome. No worries, Crayon. It was good to have you here. Thank you. Half an hour past your bedtime? Yeah. Please do go to sleep on time. Don't stay up too late. So, this sort of expression, part of the expression here, tries to make as large a string of digits as possible before extracting those digits. This greedy behavior is why we get all 5 digits for each number. The regular expression module expands in both directions until it encounters a non-digit or the beginning or the end of the line. So now we can use Regex to redo an exercise from earlier in the book where we were interested in the time of day of each mail message. I don't know if some of y'all maybe remember this one, but we had to look at these lines, with email addresses and all this information, and we just had to extract the time of day that a particular email message was sent. Hey, Nimsa, good to have you here. We're learning regular expressions today, Nimsa. So, Python is very good at working with large text files and strings and that kind of thing. And regular expressions can help us be a lot more precise when we're working with that data to only get the data that we want out of these very large text files. Good to meet you, Nimsa. Blood Mirror says, I can never get PyCharm to actually open a text file to even do regex practice. Yeah, I've had, a few years ago, when was that? It was 7 or 8 years ago now. I tried learning Python with a Udemy course. And yeah, I had to install the software, and it was I don't even remember. I think I used PyCharm. Yeah. And it just didn't work for me. It's been so much easier for me to just do it straight in VS Code here without extra software or anything like that. Just do it straight in VS Code, and it's been, it's worked pretty well so far. Alrighty. So we wanted to extract the hour of the day for each line. So out of this whole line, we essentially just want this. Previously, we did this with 2 calls to split. Yeah, we kind of we said, all right, does the line start with from, and then split here? And essentially it was okay, pull out this whole chunk, right? By splitting the string into its individual words, then we can extract this part. And then from that, we can do split again by the colon and extract this part. But obviously with regex, we could immediately drill down to only the value that we want. First, the line was split into words. We pull out the 5th word, and then we split again on the colon character. Yep, that's what we did. Yeah, Blood Mirror. I've had no problem using VS Code. I mean, you might be better with PyCharm or something if you're doing more advanced Python, but I mean, for what I'm doing, it's been fine. Okay, so while this worked, it actually results in pretty brittle code that is assuming the lines are nicely formatted. Right, yeah. One of these lines could change at any point and have extra values or extra spaces or whatever. You could do a bunch of, try except blocks or try catch blocks to try to account for those special cases. But again, it makes your code messy, right? Instead, why don't we just use regex? So we're looking for a line that starts with from, and then followed by a space, followed by any number of characters, so 0 to many, followed by another space, and then followed by 2 digits, both of which are numeric, followed by a colon. So what is that going to do? Well, it's going to say, all right, this line starts with from, and then a space. Perfect. And then a bunch of characters. It doesn't really care what they are. It's just going to keep going. And then it's going to look for 2 digits together, like right next to each other, and followed by a colon. So it's going to go here. Here's 1 digit. Here's the second. Here's a colon. Oh, hey, cool. And so this is the matching string that it's going to find. Now, we can narrow it down farther by using parentheses, like we talked about before, right? Because we don't want to return, yes, this is correct, right? But we don't want to return all of this. We only want to pull out this specific part of the string. So to top that off, we simply add parentheses around the part of the string that we want to return. And when we do that, we essentially only return the hour. Okay? And yeah, as Mattel said, that, I mean, there may be other ways to do this too. We're just kind of making use of the concepts we've learned so far. So, there's a million ways to do anything in tech, right? But this is essentially just putting in place all of the regex concepts that we've learned so far just in this chapter. Now there's there's cheat sheets and stuff like that that can give us other alternatives, but out of what we learned so far, this is kind of a nice synergy of all those concepts. I'm going to pause here for a second because, like I said, this is a nice melding of all the concepts we've learned so far. Oh, no, you're good, Mattel. It's fine. I just wanted to tell folks that, it's not that Dr. Chuck is wrong here. And it's just that, this is kind of using what we've learned up to this point. Yeah. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about this? I'm happy to pause here for a second. If folks are like, hey, wait a minute, what's happening here? I don't understand. It's okay to say, I don't know, or can you explain it again? That's perfectly valid. You're just, if you say, I don't know, or hey, I need help with this, or can you explain it again? That just means you're brave enough to say that. Alrighty. Feel free to ask questions as you have them. Next up, now we've seen some errors with around this, right? Around escape character. So what does that mean? Since we use special characters in regular expressions to match the beginning or end of a line or specify wildcards, remember wildcard just means that, the asterisk symbol. We need a way to indicate that these characters, oh, we got a question here. Okay. Can't you use 0 through 9, 1-2 for 1 or 2 characters instead of writing 0 through 9 twice? Maybe we can. We haven't learned that yet, but it's very possible. Any regex expert, in chat want to chime in? Because yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way to specify, a numeric repetition value of a specific, thing we're looking for. Could be. Alrighty, escape characters. We need a way to indicate that these special characters are normal, and we want to match the actual character, such as a $sign or a caret. Yeah, so that's important, right? So we use these special characters to essentially mean other things, to be symbolic, to say, okay, you mean this. But what if we wanted to actually find a $sign or a caret or a asterisk. We would need to, quote unquote, escape it. We can indicate that we want to simply match a character by prefixing that character with a backslash. So we kind of saw that before with the S, right? For example, we can find, or sorry, no, we didn't see that with the S. That was the non-white space thingy. For example, we can find money amounts with the following regular expression. Yeah. So $signs mean something in regex, but if we wanted to find a literal $sign, we have to first escape it. And escape is a pretty common terminology in other things as well. Generally, it just means, so in general, in this thing, this occurs in SQL as well. This occurs in other languages. But if a specific character has a symbolic meaning, so if it means something specific in that language, but we want that language to ignore that special meaning and just look for the character itself. So we encounter that a lot in SQL where a single quote starts and ends a string. If I'm doing a query for, let's say, something that includes an apostrophe, right? Well, that's a single quote. So, but what if I want to look for that, explicitly look for something with an apostrophe in it? I don't want SQL to try to make that into a string. I want to look for something a larger string that has an apostrophe in it. Then I can escape that apostrophe with a slash and say, hey, ignore any special meaning this character might have. Just look for that as a character. So in this case, we're looking for a monetary value. So we escape the $sign. And then we look for, a digits or a period. That's one or more characters in this string X. So it actually matches the $sign in the input string instead of matching the end of line. And the rest of the regular expression matches one or more digits or the period character. And inside square brackets, characters are not special. So when we say 0 through 9 dot, it really means digits or a period. Outside of square brackets, a period is the wildcard character and matches any character. Inside square brackets, the period is a period. So that's another important thing to remember. If something's outside of brackets, we can escape it with a slash. If it's inside the brackets, it's going to be treated literally. Okay? Phew, that was a lot, right? So real quick, let's just do a quick review. We've obviously only scratched the surface of regular expressions, right? We've had some folks, giving some alternatives in chat. And different ways you can do things, different characters you can use, and that just shows that regular expressions are a language in themselves, right? So just like with any language, there's a lot of different ways you can do stuff, multiple different ways to approach it, different methods you could use depending on what you're trying to get at or how efficient you want to be. And so this arcane magic can be harnessed to our best advantage, and essentially there's a lot of options, and this only covered a few options, but we might find them useful as a good starting point to recognize how we can build more complex expressions. So as a reminder, caret matches the beginning of the line, $sign matches the end, dot matches any character, lowercase /s matches a white space character, uppercase /s matches a non-white space character. So these two are opposed. This is white space. This is non-white space. I'm going to forget that at some point. Absolutely, I will. Star applies to the immediately preceding characters and indicates to match 0 or more times. Star ? Applies to the immediately preceding characters and indicates to match 0 or more times in non-greedy mode. Plus applies to the immediately preceding characters and indicates to match 1 or more time. Plus ? Does the same thing except non-greedy mode. Just ? says, okay, apply to the preceding characters and match 0 or 1 time. So this one is kind of a mirror image of this one a little bit, right? So this one says match 1 or more times. And this one essentially says, all right, match 0 or 1 time only. And question mark says 0 or 1 time in non-greedy mode. I'm not sure I still fully understand greedy versus non-greedy, but I'm going to, once we're done with the summary here, I'm going to scroll back up and read that part again. And Bloodmere says, I said, I'm going to forget it. And Bloodmere says, I already have. Yeah, as Dante says, I have to write regex once or twice per month, and I still have to relearn a lot of it every time. Yeah, same here. It's not something I use every day. So, again, as we've learned about learning, one of the things we know about how brains retain information is that if you don't use something regularly, you're bound to forget it. It's just how our brains work. Yeah. So, characters in brackets, it's going to match against this set, right? So this is kind of a set. It's going to match lowercase vowels, pretty much. In this case, it's going to say lowercase letters or digits 0 through 9. In this case, when the first character in the set notation is a caret, it inverts the logic. So, okay, this is interesting. This is a new thing. So, the caret we've already learned. So the caret by itself matches the beginning of the line, but when we see the caret inside the brackets, and it's the first character in the set notation, it inverts the logic. Oh, that's going to be a doozy. This example matches a single character that is anything other than an uppercase or lowercase letter. Alrighty, and then parentheses. We ignore parentheses for the matching purposes, but if we want to extract a particular subset, we can use the parentheses to fence off that subset of that string. And then finally, we have some B's here. So lowercase b, or slash b, I'm sorry. Slash b matches the empty string, but only at the start or end of a word. Slash uppercase b matches the empty string, but not at the start or end of a word. Sorry. Slash lowercase d matches any decimal digit equivalent to the set 0 through 9. Uppercase d slash d matches any non-digit character equivalent to the set not 0 through 9. Okay. So this is kind of just a shorthand for this set notation here, whereas this one is shorthand for this set notation here, where the caret means not. Mattel says greedy matches every possible instance on the line, whereas non-greedy only matches the first one it finds then, probably, versus the match at the beginning of the line that it finds. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it'll match the first and then do a replace or whatever operation you want and then move to the next line. Okay, that makes sense. So when we say greedy versus non-greedy, greedy is going to match every possible instance of that string, that thing you're trying to match on the line, versus non-greedy being, okay, you found one and then we move on. All right, still definitely going to be handy to have a cheat sheet for these things because, I'm not going to remember all this, but it is good to get a better sense of the general, how to generally construct these things. And we're not going to come away from this with a perfect understanding of regex, just like, you didn't come away from your first lesson in JavaScript being able to, write a full stack app, right? This kind of thing takes time. Regex is a language unto itself, and there's a lot of different ways you can approach it and a lot of different things to learn. Yeah. And that's a good explanation there, Davey. Non-greedy stops when it meets the rules. So if it finds, like we were looking at email addresses before, if it finds the first instance of that @ sign, it's going to stop. Versus the greedy, where it went through until the last possible instance of the @ sign, and then it stopped there. Yeah, greedy keeps going if it can still be within the rules with more characters. Yeah, I like that explanation. Ooh, and there's a bonus section if you use Unix or Linux. So any of you Arch BDW folks out there, support for searching files using regex was built into the Unix operating system since the 1960s, and it's available in nearly all programming languages. That is true. There's a command line program built into Unix called grep. I've actually heard of this one. it does pretty much the same as search examples in this chapter. So if you have a Macintosh or Linux system, I know we got some Mac users out there, you can try the following commands in your command line window. Now, I don't have a Mac, but you could try running grep and say, hey, look for, lines starting with from. Now I could try, I'm using git bash. I don't know if that'll work, but I could try it. Let's see, grep, grab this. Oh yeah, it works. Cool. So I can do it too. Since I'm, using git bash, I thought that might work. Yep. So in this case, yeah, we could use grep to essentially just drop the regex straight in, which is nice too. I mean, I can mostly see myself using it as part of a larger Python script, but if I ever wanted to just do a quick search through a file, this would be a great way to do it. Mattel says you can install WSL. Yeah, in this case though, I mean, it works just as is. I don't, I can use it just straight from here, unless I'm sure there's things that I can't do without installing WSL, but for me, it's not been necessary up to this point. I'm with git bash, I'm able to do all the, git stuff I want to do, with no issue. TV Josh said, did you cover possessive quantifiers? Nope, this is really just a basic introduction to regex because there's so many different ways you could go with it, right? There's so many different symbols you could use, methodologies, that type of thing. So really this is just a basic introduction to how do we construct a regex expression? What are some of the basic things we can do? And then if you want to accomplish a specific task, you can look up the specific, language and methodologies you can use to get there. Yeah, so can't possibly be all encompassing, unfortunately. More of just, hey, how does regex work type of a thing. Alrighty, let's see. I want to do the auto-graded exercise, I think. We'll do that. How are we doing on time? We do need to take a break. So we're going to take a break for 5 minutes. And then when we come back, we're going to do the auto-grade exercise for regular expressions. And also too, never fear. If you're like, hey, I want to see more regex. I want to see more regex. Well, we are going to get to do that because the project that I have in mind when we finish this course is going to make probably heavy use of regex to parse large amounts of text data. Essentially, the project that I have in mind is going to be web scraping of a pretty large and complicated web page. Thank you so much for the subscription, Davy Jones. My alerts are completely broken now. I used to be able to get Prime alerts and now those don't even work, so that's fun. But I do have a custom sub page for subs because I want you to be recognized. So thank you so much for the subscription, folks. Good to have you here. Thank you for the sub. Alrighty. But yeah, the project that I want to do when we eventually conclude this course is essentially grabbing a bunch of raw HTML data from a site that doesn't have an API. So doing a huge scrape of a bunch of raw HTML, and then using regex to dig out only the stuff that we want, because this data does follow a specific pattern. I've looked at the data before. It follows a specific pattern for the elements, so we should be able to come up with some regex that will extract the elements that we need and put them in proper variables, and then format those variables in such a way that I can output just like a raw text file or like a comma delimited text file, and then just dump that straight into a database. So that's the goal, is to essentially clean up a bunch of nasty web data, format it in such a way that it's comma delimited in essentially table format. And then I can just take that raw text file and just dump that sucker into a database. So that's the goal. Yeah, it should be really fun. Yeah. All right. So before we get to this exercise, let's take a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we'll see if we can build out some regex. Alrighty, see you back here in 5 minutes. Alrighty, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so please come on back if you're coming back. As always, if you've been sitting this whole time, please make sure you get up and move around a little bit. As always, pet your dogs, pet your cats, pet your kids, pet your significant other with their permission, of course, and then come on back. Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you back here. Oh, by the way, welcome to the stream by Popular. Good to have you here as well. I also noticed that while I was on the break, I realized that none of my follows had been showing up either. I'm sure folks have been following me throughout the stream, and those are not working either. So I have no working alerts now, which is great. At least my chat still works. That's good. But yeah, all my alerts are broken. Oh, thank you, Mac Attack. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And none of my alerts are working. So earlier today, I was trying to. So I've had an issue going on for a long time now where new subs just don't show up. Like my other alerts worked, Prime subs worked, but like regular subscribers just wouldn't ever show up. Um, and so earlier today, I disconnected and reconnected my Streamlabs connection, but that seems to not be working anymore at all now. So that's great. Hey, Dave and DC, good to have you here. So I'll keep working on that, and I'll try to fix it. Hopefully, I'll have working alerts again, or at least some measure of working alerts by the next stream. But if you followed me during the stream today, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I apologize I wasn't able to see it. Just did not show up at all. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. My stream, I know it is. More like Twitch is failing me. Yeah. Uh, Gosh dang Twitch. Gotta love it. Yeah, good to see you, Dave. Alrighty, so let's look at this exercise. We are going to be reading through and parsing a file with text and numbers. We want to extract all the numbers in the file and compute the sum of the numbers. Okay. So we've provided two files. One is a sample file, and the other is the actual data. So we can use this sample data to kind of test whether we're on the right track or not, and then the actual data for the final answer. Interesting that the sample data is larger than the actual data. Okay. So we're going to save each of these into a file. The file contains much of the text from the introduction of the textbook, except that random numbers are inserted throughout the text. Okay. So yeah, we've got some random numbers here. Yeah, so it's just basically the same text that we've already gone through, except random numbers at various points. The sum for the sample text above is 27,486. The numbers can appear anywhere in the line, and there can be any number of numbers in each line, including none. So the basic outline is to read the file, look for integers using find all, looking for a regular expression of essentially that, and converting the extracted string to integers, and then summing up the integers. Okay, yeah, we should be able to do this. So first off, let's first figure this out using this really short little bit of sample text. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to create a file, and we're going to say, let's see, some sample, sample 1 is going to be our text. And that's just a raw text file. And I'm going to grab this and put it in there. And I'm going to drag this over so y'all can see it. I'm just doing the setup for now. All right. So this is going to be the text we're going to read from for our first try. And then I'm going to take this example that we already have, and I'm just going to modify it with the actual regex that we want to find. So first off, we're going to see if we can just locate the numbers. Can we locate the numbers and print them? I think that's going to be the first test. So we're going to open our file sum sample 1. So sum sample 1. We're going to open this file. We're going to loop through each line, getting rid of extra white space. And then what we're going to be looking for is essentially anything numeric. Doesn't matter where it is in the line. It's just we're looking for any numbers that we can find, right? And it has to be at least 1. So we do that. We're going to find it. And I want to print each number. So we should see like a list of like 7746, 12, blah, blah, blah. Each of these numbers should be on its own line. So let's see if that works first off. What do we get? Oh, and I want to actually do this. Actually, I should have that in my history here. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. So that's a good start. We've got for each line, it's essentially going to print off the matching values for that line. So the first line has 7746. The next line has these three values, doop, 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 and then 7, and then these two. So that looks right. Good start. And then we want to, so we're going to look for each one, and for each one that we find, so rather than printing off, all the values that we find in each line, we want to essentially turn each line into an integer and add it to a running sum. And then when we're done, print the sum. All right, so we're going to find that. And then we're going to say, so we're storing these values in X. So find all for the line. And let's see. I think I want to modify this a little bit because for each one, I don't want to store the whole line in X, or I could split X into its, I could split X into its component parts. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? Or I could loop through, for each line I could loop through and sum, each of the values, convert each one to an integer and sum it. So to kind of have a total for each line, and then, add the total for each line to a running total. What do we think, chat? I'm just, talking out loud here. So if that is, you could say if the length of this is greater than 0, so if there's at least one line, if there's at least one number in this list, then I could loop through it. I could loop through the list and convert each one to an integer and add it to a line total. And then add each one of those to a global total. What do we think? So I could do something like for num in num list, for num in X, essentially say int num equals int num. So for num in X, right. For num in X, num is that, and then add that to line total. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But the challenge is here that I have to also make sure that I'm summing each line, right? So I need to capture the total. So, because each line could have more than one number on it. And right now, what find all is doing is it's finding all the values for that line. So I could have, a list of these three values here, and I need to make sure that I'm capturing all three values in the total. So I am still going to have a global total, but I think I also need a line total, and then in the end, I need to sum all the line totals into the global total. Still feels too complicated, but I'm going to try it this way first, and then we'll see if we can narrow it down once I get the right answer. All right, so we're converting each of these to integers, and then I'm going to add it to the line total. Line total equals the current value of line total. And I know I can do this in shorthand, but I'm just being very explicit right now. Plus int num. So that's the new total for the line. All right, and now I'm just gonna pause here, and I'm gonna print line total. Just doing this kind of incrementally. All right, so what I should see is 7746 for this, and then a total of around, I don't know, 12,000 or something for this, 7, and then whatever that is, around 9,000 for this. Yeah, maybe I could. Let's try this first. Yeah, okay. So that is doing what I expect. So this is grabbing the total for each line. And then I also need to then have a global total in the end. So Null says, can we just do an int num plus equal, which would accumulate every number found in the for. So I think the challenge here that I'm dealing with is that, and I could be wrong about the way I'm thinking about this, is that it's the value of x here could contain 3 values at once. So just do an int num plus equals, which can accumulate every number in the for loop. Think about that. Maybe. Okay, let me get the answer first, and I'm getting there. I'm gonna be more verbose with the first try, and then we'll see if we can slim it down. Okay, so doing a print right now, but what I actually want to do is I want to sum everything into a final total. So I need a global variable for that. And then we've got our line total for each line, and then after I do that, I want to add and yes, I could shorthand this. I could do plus equals here, but again, I'm being very explicit just as I'm thinking through this, and we'll go through and refactor when we're done. All right. Okay. And then in the end, at the very end, I want to print final total. All right, so the sum of this should be what? This should be around 15. So around 25, 6-ish thousand, 27. Okay. Yeah, I was getting there. Okay, 27,486. All right, cool. Okay, that's not right. All right, hang on. 7746 plus 10,768 plus 7 plus 8965. Okay, so yeah, it is 2740. So I've got something wrong here. That's okay. But the line totals themselves were actually correct. Interesting. Okay, let's do this. Can't spell, current value. All right. So based on the values that we know, we're taking 7,746, and then that's plus 12 there. Oh, I see. Okay, I think I see what's happening here. Yeah, I'm double adding the line total here. Okay. I love that I actually have more viewers now that I'm working through this problem. It shows that everybody likes to do problem solving, so that's good. No, I don't think well, when line total 0 should be inside the for loop. Yes, that might be it. Maybe, we'll see. Yeah, because we want to reset that. Yeah, we want to reset that value every time. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, let's try that. Yep, there we go. 2746. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Maiva. Yep, you're right, Them. That's what we just needed to reset the total because it was adding to the total when it didn't need to be. But with that being said, I think we can now refactor this. So now that we have the right answer, we can refactor this to be simpler because it is too complex right now. We still need a final total value because that's what we need to print at the very end. But I think, as some folks were saying earlier, we should be able to, yeah, woohoo, yeah. Hopefully we can find a way to just add directly to final total and only have one ending total variable, if you know what I mean. Okay. Oh, we could just directly sum the list. That's a good point. Let's do that. All right, so what this is going to do is it's going to give us a list with these values. So if we just call sum on the list, would that work, I wonder? Okay, let's try that. So then we probably don't even need an if check if length is greater than 0. I wonder what would happen if this was 0. Well, let's see. All right, so we're going to do the find again, but this time we're just going to do a print sum and then the name of the list, which is X. And I'm going to get rid of this for now. And let's just see what this does. Okay. Yeah, because those aren't integers. So what I need to do is still need to convert them to integers, but this could potentially be a list of multiple integers. So I still need to loop through the list and convert them to integers before I can sum them. So I still need to do that. So we'll leave this for now. For num and x, so we're going to so essentially I need to convert each value in the list to an integer. I know there's a way to do that, but it's not coming to me at the moment. I just want to loop through the list in place and change the type of each value to an integer. Because they're strings right now, essentially, is why I need to do that. Because what the parse gives me is strings. So let's just going to Google it. All right, so Python convert list of strings to int. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we're just doing a reassignment. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna say for I in range. So essentially we're saying, all right, so loop through the entirety of this list of strings and then essentially reassign. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We're going to reassign the element at each index to an integer. Yeah, okay. So I wonder if I can just do this. So for num, I wonder if I have to do this part. No, I have to. I think I do. Okay, well, I'm going to move this. What's the comment symbol is, what's the multi-line comment thing? Is it's triple quotes, right? Control / okay. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going to move this for now. So for n and x, and yeah, I do need to loop through it like this. Yeah, I do. Okay, the reason I need to loop through it like that is because I'm looping by index values. So for I in range, and then whatever the length of x is. So I'm looping by index because I need to capture that index value so that I can convert the value at each index to an integer. Yeah, So we're going to say, x at index, the value of x at index I, so whatever that current thing is, I'm going to just convert it to an integer in place. So int. And there's nothing wrong with Googling. So, when I knew that there was a way to do something, but I couldn't remember exactly how to do it. And so Google is your friend in this case. A lot of people get really leery about like, ooh, should I Google stuff? And developers Google stuff all the time. You can't be expected to remember everything that you've ever learned or everything about a particular language or syntax or whatever. And so learning how to Google efficiently is your best friend. All right, so we've done this. Convert them to integers. So let's just make sure that that worked. Oh, thank you, Maiva. So, as you can see, Maiva, like we had a working solution, right? It worked. We could have just gone with that for the answer. We could have just used that. And I'm sure would have gotten the answer. But, we know that there's a better way to do it, a more efficient way to do it. And so why don't we do that, right? And so actually I want to print the whole of x. So do that. Print x. There. Yeah, okay, so now they are numbers, as we can see. We've done the conversion successfully. Perfect. Null Recall says you really just can plus equal int num to int num for the result. Really just can plus equal int num to int num for the result. Okay. To int, you really can just plus equal int num to int num. Okay, we can try that. Line 17. Yeah, okay. Still, it was good to remember how to do a conversion. So I'm going to keep this too. This can be our backup if the other one doesn't work. All right. So good to explore multiple options. Control/. We'll keep both of these. All right. So we'll put this back. I think I'm tabbed in too far. Oh, and I'm missing my dang it, I'm missing my start of my for loop there. Gotta put it back. All right, for num in x. All right, there we go. So plus equal int num to, okay, so this. All right, we'll try that. And then I'm still going to, let's see. So, and then I'm going to need, in the end, I'm going to need to print out, I'm still going to need to print out int num though. So I'll need to declare int num up here then, huh? To print out the global total. Like that. Is that what you were thinking, Null Recall? Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Typo. All right, let's try that. Okay, yep, that worked. Cool. All right, so let's walk through this then. So everything's the same, but we've declared kind of our final total variable here. And we're looping through each line, stripping out the white space, finding essentially a list of all potential numeric values on each line. So we saw that there could be multiples, right? We could have a line with multiple numeric values, such as this. If the length of that line is, if the length of that list, I should say, sorry, if the length of that list is greater than 0, then, okay, yeah, this makes sense. So for each number in the list, and I don't even need this anymore. For each number in the list, we're going to take our final total variable and increase it by the integer value of the number we're looping through. So int num, since int num is a like a global scope variable here, it's going to be our running total. And so for each line, we're going to say, okay, find the values. So like so. And if the length of that list is greater than 0, so for the first line here, it is. And then for each number in that list, in this case, just 1, we're going to add it to our global total but convert it to an integer first. Now we loop to the second line. We find all the possible values. Length is greater than 0. Yes. For each value in this list, we're going to loop through it, convert it to an integer, and add it to the total. And then finally, at the end, we're going to do one print. So I'm going to run this again. Yep, still works. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't, I don't know why that wasn't making sense to me, because we've done that before with like list sums and stuff like that, but I don't know, just wasn't quite jiving. So thank you for being patient with me as I kind of got the concept under my head, so, or drilled into my brain. But that's why we practice, right? Because something that might have seemed obvious at one point, suddenly, you forget it, or the concept doesn't stick in your brain. And then the best thing you can do is practice it again. And once you've gotten the right answer, or a possible answer, the best thing you can do is walk through it and make sure you really understand how you got there, which is why then after we saw that this worked, I went through and explained it again, because that makes sure that I understand what's going on. Thank you, Maiva. Yeah. It's good. These are nice. I like these exercises because they're sufficiently challenging to actually be challenging. Diastic, hey, how's it going? Yeah, and there's multiple possible ways we could do this, right? We could have done kind of where I was going, which was, all right, take each list and convert the values to integer, or take the values on each line, convert those to integers, and then, convert them to integers first in place, and then loop through them and sum them that way. Yeah. Good to think through. Okay, now let's try it on one of the larger files. They gave us these two examples here. Diastic, I'm not sure that I can do that for you. I'll try. They banned the word list. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right, we'll open this up, grab the text, put it into a new file. What was this one called? What did they call this? This was Regex sum 42. Okay. Regex sum 42.txt. Copy, paste. All right. So now let's try our script against that. And we should hopefully get the sum that they expect. Regex, here be dragons. Yeah, I know, right? It's been an interesting adventure working with it. Okay, that was 445833. 445833. Yeah, we got it. Okay, and let's do the second one here. All right, we'll get the name of this one. New file. That. Copy. That. Save. Drop that into our script. Save. Okay, 361438. There are 74 values and the sum ends with 438. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we got it. He's not going to tell us the exact answer because this is the real question, but I love how it says each student will have a distinct data file for the assignment. Only use your own data file for analysis. I'm pretty sure we're all using the same file. Okay, so we've got the format. And we're going to grab the sum ending in 438, which is that. And then, right? And then we're going to take these. Actually, I'm just going to grab this part of the code, put that in. And then we'll submit. Let's see if it works. Hooray! We got it. Good job, chat. Okay, and yeah, and just like we were talking about, there's a number of different ways to approach the problem, right? While we don't recommend trying to write the most compact code possible, it can sometimes be a fun exercise. Oh my goodness, there's a 2-line version. There's a 2-line version. Using list comprehensions. Wow. Please don't waste a lot of time trying to find out the shortest solution until you have completed the homework. List comprehension is mentioned in chapter 10, and the read method is covered in chapter 7. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I said the word, didn't I? Oh my goodness. I don't think we're gonna try to attempt this one, but I do think we got a good answer. I think we got a very readable answer. You're welcome to attempt this if you want, but sorry, Diaz Tech. I failed the challenge. But yeah, I think what we got here is a very readable answer, in my opinion. And sometimes readability, your pursuit shouldn't always be like the most, efficient or the most like code efficient answer in terms of lines of code, right? You shouldn't always be aiming for the fewest lines of code. What you should be aiming for is something that's maintainable and readable by either yourself or by other people. Especially other people. As someone who's had to maintain some legacy code that was not written by me and was written by someone who has retired and did not leave good documentation whatsoever, I am really understanding the importance of writing good readable code. First try. Yeah. Thank you, Maiva. Absolutely. All right. Good job, chat. That was a really intense lesson, wasn't it? But I think we did pretty well. All right. We're done here. Oops. Okay. So let's take a quick look where we're at in the course. See, we should be able to see, I think here. Yeah. So we're doing pretty well. We still have to do the quiz, but we're going to do that next time. So as usual, we do the quiz from the previous lesson at the start of the next lesson. And really after that, we only have 4 lessons left. Yeah, active recall indeed. Yep. So after we do that quiz, we only have 4 lessons left. So we're doing great, chat. And these 4 lessons, these are the ones that are going to be the ones that we're going to apply directly in the project that I'm going to build. So this is the real meat of it. This is the stuff I've been aiming for this entire time, is I want to learn how to do web scraping. I want to be able to extract data from XML. I want to, well, and I already know, I know SQL already, but essentially what I'm really interested in is this scraping and extracting data from XML. That's what we're going to be doing directly with Python. And then also how Python works with SQL. I mean, that'll be interesting too, because I've been working with SQL for years, and if I can marry Python and SQL, that'll be cool. Mintel says the more efficient, the more likely you'll be the only one that can maintain it. Yes. And that is something that I'm struggling with currently at my job, where, I'm being asked to maintain and update applications that have 0 documentation. And, I mean, that's not my full job, but a part of my job is maintaining these applications that are critical to our work, but have no documentation and were written by someone who really did not ever consider the fact that he wouldn't always be the one looking at them. And so, with that, you get a lot of single letter variable names and weird, shortcuts and stuff like that. It's pretty wild. So, it does give me an appreciation for properly formatted and properly commented code. Diaz Tech says, I left my Erlang position for this reason some time ago. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get yourself, into that hole where you're just spend your time just digging through code with no progress because it's not understandable, right? Yeah. Spaghetti code equals job security. Yeah. Davey says, I do a lot of legacy stuff, write a bunch of tests, then throw the bit you're changing in the bin. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I've been working on doing is, as I'm going through this legacy code, is, then as I figure out what it's doing, then I add comments and, add proper versioning and all these things that it didn't have before, actually using Git with this code and stuff like that. Adding comments, refactoring where I can, but in the end, it's all going to have to be rewritten, unfortunately. It's all going to have to be converted from Visual Basic to C Sharp in anyway. So that's a project for future me. Alrighty, folks. Good job today, everybody. I know this was a really sort of difficult topic. Regex is kind of a bugaboo. There's a lot going on there. And as we've mentioned multiple times, there's a lot of online tools you can use. You can use all sorts of like regex generators. You can use regex 101. You can use ChatGPT. But if you go into it with a basic understanding of how regex works and a general feel for the shape of the regex that you want to generate, then you're going to have a better idea of what you get back from that generator is at least partially accurate, right? You're gonna know if it's trying to BS you, especially when it comes to LLMs, like ChatGPT. So if you go into it, you can have a little bit of protection against wrong answers if you go into it with a bit of foundational knowledge about how to write your own regex. Oh, thank you, Maiva. It was great having you here. So as usual, at the end of my streams, I like to just kind of use the last 30 minutes to just talk about whatever y'all want. If you want to ask questions, chat about random topics, it could be, you could ask me questions about coding or just random stuff or whatever you like. I'm happy to just kind of have a little 30-minute free for all at the end of the stream. And then, we'll go and raid somebody and spread some positivity their way. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions that you have. Also, too, it was super awesome to have Dr. Chuck here with us today at the start of the stream as well. That was really cool that he stopped in. So yeah, that was neat. I hope he's able to stop in again sometime. Maiva says, any exciting goals in the next couple of months or for 2025? I mean, I want to make some progress in this project that I'm going to use Python for, so that'll be good. I want to get it done. I kind of have a soft deadline of March, because it's for a museum, and that's when the museum opens back up for the season. And so if I can get that done by March, that'll be really beneficial for the museum. So it's kind of my soft deadline for this project. I'm hoping it doesn't take that long, but you never know, honestly, right? Yeah. Umthan says, I was scared of this subject, but this was such a nice teaching, made it smooth. Oh, that's great, Umthan. Yeah, and thank you to all the folks who do know regex really well, who, were contributing to the discussion as well. Because, yeah, I know next to nothing about regex. I'm learning it along with you all. So, yeah, it's good to have some other perspectives as we're picking up these new skills. Mattel says, any recent furry critter updates? No, not so much. Still just got my dog. He's good. He's enough. Null says, have you tried Regex 101? It not only lets you write regex, it explains it. Yes, I have tried it. It is very helpful. Absolutely. And I think it will be helpful as we're getting into the project. For me, I'm really not likely to retain something, unless I have a application for it. And so, yeah, I've used Regex 101 in the past, but I didn't really retain what it was telling me because I didn't really care. I was like, why do I need to know this? I don't care. But now, I have a pretty big application for it. And so I'll, and I have an idea going in of, how it's going to explain to me. So I think I probably will retain more of that the next time I use Regex 101. My brain is very subjective in what it decides to retain or discard, so I have to sometimes trick it into actually keeping information without throwing it away. But hey, that's just my brain. Unfortunately, one of the side effects of ADHD, which I have, is that I can usually be either highly focused on something or not focused at all, and there is very little in between. So either I'm going to be completely dedicated to it or just not retain any of it at all. Which is why I have a mind full of random facts about Star Trek, but I don't remember any calculus that I took in college. Although, to be fair, I think of the two, the Star Trek facts have been more useful in my life so far. Well, if nobody has any question, that's perfectly fine. We can go ahead and raid somebody if you prefer. But if you have, who needs calculus anyways, right? Computers can do it for me. Oh, you have did you have a question, DS Tech? Oh, you're typing. Okay. Okay. I don't want to cut you off. But yeah, I was just recently at the mall. So unlike many malls in America, for some reason, my community actually has a mall that is like thriving, that has like a bunch of stores and is super busy. And it's really fun to walk around at Christmas. And I went there yesterday, and there's this antique store in there, and they actually had some really cool, like, next generation Star Trek Next Generation, like, action figures and stuff. It was actually pretty neat. Like, they were still in their packaging and everything. And some cool, like, spaceship, Star Trek, like, starship toys and stuff like that. It was neat. Now, I didn't get any. I'm not huge on action figures or collecting stuff like that, but it was neat to see. Just they had a little display with like some little, Star Trek action figures and little Star Trek spaceships and stuff. Mostly from like toward the end of Next Generation. So, I think that would be like early 90s. Hey, KP. Uh, Aztec says, I have this thing when I'm learning something, which is constantly. I often end up having a billion tabs open in my browser, and I don't know how to fix this. Um, it's like I need to learn this and that. Oh, here's this thing I don't really know. How did you get in my brain, Aztec? At any given point, I generally have at least 10 tabs open, usually more in multiple windows. And yeah, it's a challenge. I think one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're learning something is to have a definite goal in mind, right? Because there's no limit. There's no limit to the amount of things we can learn on a particular topic, right? There's no, I could be going through every single Python method right now, or I could just devote myself to learning regex, for the next month, and not do anything else and still not run out of things to learn, right? But I think what's important is that you have a goal, and then that goal helps you set limits. So in my case, my goal is the project that I want to work on. I want to learn just enough Python and just enough regex to do this project. And if I want to learn more after that, awesome, I'm going to go do it. But I have a goal with a slight kind of a deadline. And I know that I have to keep progressing through this particular course that I've started, because you all are depending on me to keep going through the course. This is what you're expecting, right? That's my stream topic. And so if you're picking up something new, it's very helpful to say, okay, I'm learning this because I want to XYZ, whatever that thing is. I'm learning this because I want to do really well in a job interview. I'm learning this because I want to, I don't know, help my friends build a website or whatever. So that the goal not only keeps you on track in terms of time, it also helps you set limits on the like breadth of things you're learning, right? On the variety of things you're learning, because you have to limit yourself to just what you need to get this task done. And then that's going to kind of laser focus you to the point where you're competent in that thing. And by then you'll have a better sense of what you should be spending your time on in terms of learning, right? So after you accomplish that project, like right after I build this project that I'm going to do, maybe I'll be like, oh man, I really want to get, like, I know I did that, but I want to get better at, looping through this XML or whatever. Or I want to get better at web scraping. And so then I'll have a more focused sense of, this is where I want to go next, versus just being like, oh crap, I need to learn everything about web scraping and everything about parsing strings and everything about regex. And then when do you stop, right? So yeah, it sounds like your brain works very similarly to mine. And so the best thing is to have a goal, and it's even better if you can have checkpoints. So for me, the checkpoints are this stream, right? To know that, hey, this is what I'm going to be covering next on stream, and I'm going to be covering it in a week. Is to say, okay, I've got a timeline, I've got goals, I've got checkpoints. So the reason I stream is, just as much for me as it is for all of you. Of course, I love coming on here and teaching this stuff to you guys, but many of the topics I pick are because it's something that I want to learn, and I'm sure as heck not going to learn it on my own. I just don't. Motivation is kind of a myth, especially for people with ADHD. We just don't have the ability to self-regulate in terms of what we choose to pursue at any given moment. And the only way we can do that is by assigning outside motivation, whether that's a project, whether that's a weekly stream, whether that's sitting down with your friends every couple days and, each person brings a new topic to the table that they have to talk about, that kind of thing. So the best way to make it easy on yourself is to set those kind of outside markers to help keep you on track. I hope that was helpful. But yeah, I don't think anything's ever going to stop me from having multiple tabs open at any given time. But it's at least going to help focus on the thing I'm actually trying to accomplish. Yeah. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Ramon. Good to see you. But yeah, I've got multiple tabs open here on this computer. I've got tabs open on my laptop. I've got tabs open on my work computer, all those things. I'm never going to get over that. But it's funny. I've got a coworker, and he and I are pretty much like polar opposites in terms of who we are as people. Political views, like, habits, everything. We're like completely opposite, even down to like our demographics. But we get along really well. But there was one time when I was on a call with him and I pulled up my browser and I had like 30 tabs open and he about had a heart attack. He was like, how do you even function? Because, he's the kind of guy that pulls up a tab, gets what he needs from it, and then closes it, right? And then or closes his browser and shuts down his computer at the end of every day, where I'm like, no, I have 50 tabs open. I can't shut down. And then, yeah, impossible, right? There's no way I can shut down my computer every day. I have too much stuff that I need to remember. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was really funny. His reaction was great. He flipped out. It's just like, what? How can you find anything? How you have so many tabs open? How do you know what they are? I'm like, I've got an idea. Yeah, it is interesting how we can all function so differently just day to day, but we can all work together and get our work done in the end. Yeah, because he and I work together really well. So it is funny. That's another nice thing about the tech industry too, is that you can have such a variety of people and types of people who can all, collaborate and come from different backgrounds and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's cool. Alrighty, any other questions, folks? And it's okay if you're typing. I'll give it a minute. My dog is being very needy right now. He's like bumping against my legs. Okay, bud, now why don't you go lay down, bud? Come on. Just a little longer. Okay. Brave says, I'm the same way. I guess it's probably some childhood trauma from when I had a weak computer and every single tab would affect his performance. Yeah, back when Chrome was really terrible with RAM. Yeah, absolutely. You start lagging if you have more than a few tabs open. Yeah, I don't know what I would do, if tabs didn't exist. Beta says, welcome to the stream, by the way, Beta. Could you also cover Miniconda as an environment manager for Python? Pip dependencies and version control is so annoying. Maybe, but that won't be until after I actually do the project that I'm planning on doing. Because again, my approach to this is pretty focused on kind of, okay, what's my end goal? I have a project. I just need the bare minimum of the tools that I need in order to solve this project. And then after that, I'll decide where I want to go from there. And it could be, yeah, we learn how to install a new environment manager, or we learn more about Regex, or, we learn more about, I don't know, web scraping or whatever. But for now, my focus is pretty narrow on just here's what I need here's the tools I need in order to accomplish the goal that I've set. Mintel says, pet me, pet me. Yeah, that's pretty much what my dog was doing. He was bumping against my legs and wanting attention, which I don't blame him. I mean, it's been 3 hours, so. He's a very patient dog. He sits in here in all of my streams. He sits on a couch right next to me, and you never hear a peep out of him. So he's a good boy. Alrighty, anything else, folks? Well, feel free to ask any remaining questions if you have them. In the background, I'm going to start pulling up the raid screen. But that doesn't mean you aren't allowed to ask additional questions or bring up topics if you have them. Hey, book club. Good to see you. Alrighty. Okay, so Twitch is being silly, of course. It always does. Oh, and I can actually see my followers here. So before we raid, I do want to give a quick shout out to the folks who followed me. Ramon, thank you for the follow. Dev Marley, thank you for the follow. Mac Attack, thank you for the follow. Leostera, Osborne, Oxanubis, Pahul, Lucci, Netho Gaming, Hesonom, Boscans, Action, and yes, thank you all for the follows. Oh my goodness, Book Club, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Wow, my alerts aren't working right now, but I have a special alert that I made myself. Enjoy. Thank you for the sub. Where did you see Ozzy Osbourne, Brave Traveler? Okay. Get back to the raid screen here. Oh, Twitch, you so silly. It's not letting me... Okay, there we go. All right. All right, I got the raid screen up here, finally. It took a hot minute. All right, let's zoom in. Let's find someone to raid. As always, if you have a suggestion on someone you'd like to raid, feel free to shout it out. Preferably someone in the software and game dev category, and preferably a smaller streamer as well. We like to spread the love around to folks that need more eyes on them and deserve more attention. So, got a lot of folks here. And I love that Twitch also, gives me the opportunity to select these categories as well, so we can really narrow down our raid targets. We got somebody here making a game. Somebody messing around. Oh, this might be interesting. Let's see what they're doing. If they're new, then this might be a great opportunity to raid them, to give them some support if they're brand new. So let's see what they're up to. Looks like they're doing animations. What are they making, I wonder? Looks like some kind of, walking or character animation. Yeah, VTubers, yeah. Let's see, I want to see what this person does.
I was running until I wasn't.
Dignity stored in the mustache. Okay, that's neat.
$48,000.
Okay, not a lot of information on what they're actually doing.
I'll pay zero. And VA's
I know it is cute. Yeah, let's raid them. Let's give them some love. They got it. I like their vibe. I like their I like the cut of their jib, as it were. And they got cat ears too. They got a mustache and cat ears. How can we say no to that?
Get what you earn.
Functional messing around.
Visit
Yeah.
choose.ba.com.
All right, let's rate them. As always, when we rate somebody,
Language,
please give them the same vibes that you give me. Show them the same respect that you show me.
Eminem.
You know, show them the positivity of this
Eminem?
community. And you know, they say they're new to this. It looks like they might be new to Twitch. So let's give them a good introduction
what's
to
wrong
Twitch
here?
and show them how good the software and game dev community is here on Twitch. Hopefully, they want to stick around. Alrighty, folks.
Animation tree equals.
Let's go ahead and raid.
That shouldn't matter.
I will see you all again now next weekend. So just keep in mind, of course, Mattel, it's good to see
Spelling
you.
error.
Keep in mind, next weekend is right before Christmas. So I will most likely, 99% sure, I will not be streaming next weekend. I will be spending family time, which is good stuff. So 2 weeks before the next stream. And that'll be a great time for us to do a quiz on Regex and test how much we remember, because I have no idea. So, yeah, 2 weeks before the next stream, most likely. Have a great Christmas, everyone.
Boy don't work.
And
Boy broke.
I hope to see you all again soon. Alrighty, raid is starting now.
Anim state, anim tree. If you want to make it easier, remove the animation tree.
Yes, have a great holiday to you too, Brave Traveler. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Maiva. Thanks, Mattel.
Animation state. So let's call it anim state, and this is within the anim
Alrighty,
state.
see you, folks.
So anim
Bye-bye.
tree dot get
And control.